Good. Doing great. I wasn't.
Where is this? Is that Oh, yeah, I think I read that somewhere.
Schools back in session.
Ain't that something? I got one coming at the end of the year, so.
Carl. Oh.
You heard it. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 15th, 2017 regular council meeting for the City of Brook Park. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Scott.
Here.
Bergio.
Here.
Salvatore.
Here.
Troyer.
Here.
Powers.
Here.
McDonald. Here. Mancini.
Here.
Would everyone please stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Council, at this time, I'll accept a motion to go out of the regular order of business to address item M1 on the agenda.
Motion so made.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion to go out of the regular order of business to address item M1 on the agenda. Seeing no discussion, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Mancini.
Yes.
Troyer.
Yes.
Powers. Yes. McDonald.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Bergio.
Yes.
Salvatore.
Yes.
Okay, the motion's adopted, so we will go to page 2 of the agenda. Under letter M is introduction of ordinances and resolutions on first reading. We'll go to item number 1, which is resolution number 20-2017.
Introduced by Councilwoman Powers and Council as a whole, honoring Dorothy Mayhew for celebrating her 100th birthday on August 15, 2017, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, Council,
Motion.
I'll accept the motion to
Motion to suspend.
suspend.
Support.
Okay, there's been a motion made, properly supported. Seeing no discussion, I'll ask clerk please call the roll.
Powers.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Bergio.
Yes.
Salvatore.
Yes.
Troyer.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Mancini.
Yes.
Okay, suspension has been approved.
Move to adopt.
Support.
It's been a motion to adopt. It's been properly supported. Is there any discussion on adoption? Seeing no discussion, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Troyer.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Bergio.
Yes.
Salvatore.
Yes.
Powers.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Mancini.
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 20-2017 has been adopted under suspension of the rules. I'll ask Councilwoman Powers to go down to the podium to make the presentation because Dorothy is in the audience tonight with us.
I have asked Dorothy to come and be with us tonight, and I am going to let her speak and tell you about her life. And so here you go, Dorothy.
Thank you. I never speak very well in these. I have to learn how to adjust it. But you can hear me all right? Okay.
If you want to read your resolutions, or same thing that you have there, okay? Just tell us about your children and your life.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm glad I'm here tonight because there's a special thing. Today is my birthday. So this is the first time that I'm 100 years old. Yesterday I was 99, and today is better. And I think I'll go into my history then. I was married to my husband for 63 years before he passed away. And we do have 4 children. Carol Russo and Mary Ellen Schmidt and Nancy. And my son John.
And the grandchildren?
Yes, we have 15 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. And I've lived in Brook Park for 58 years. But before that, we lived on Sheldon Road. And Sheldon Road, at that, well, it still is, the half that we lived on is Middlebrook, and across the street was Brook Park. So our girls went to Brook Park Memorial School, and their friends were in Brook Park, and I knew some people in Brook Park, and that's where the action was in Brook Park. So we always thought we would settle down there. Well, then the boom came of the housing, and we bought a house, and then we were involved in other things in Brook Park. Look at my notes here. So I've lived really in this area for 68 years, and that's a long time. That's longer than some of you fellows are. We, at that time too, when our children went to school, there was no library here. And if your child had to have a report or something to do, you had to go to Berea to look it up in the library. And if you had several children, this meant nightly visits. And you had a choice of either coming back or waiting there for him or her. But there was a committee formed, and they somehow, I don't know how, details, but they got the library going. And how would we ever manage without a library? At the time in the summer, we had the bookmobile would come down the street, and almost like the ice cream man, you know. But they didn't have any music. But that was good for the summertime. But we do have a good library now, and it's wonderful, up to date, beautiful. When you go in the library, there used to be a plaque on the left side as you went in, and it had the names of all the committee. And I'm proud to say that my husband was one of them, and he worked on that. Then we started square dancing, and that was a pleasure. It was fun to do. We enjoyed it, and it was done as a couple. It wasn't done just a husband or a wife, but as a couple. And we formed a club too, and they were called the Square Dance Squares. So we visited different clubs, and the fairgrounds in Berea has the best dancing floor. It's a wooden floor, and we danced there. We danced at the schools. We had a lot of fun with that. We made many friends. It was good. Then I helped Elma Muster start the Girl Scouts and Brownies and Girl Scouts, and we worked on that, and the girls enjoyed that. some of them had never had done a cookout, and they made these little popcorn cans, and they were called sit-upons, and we just did fun things for them, and they worked on their badges, and it was a good time for them. Without my notes, I'm lost. I did work. I worked for 25 years at Penny's, and I worked in the boys department. And if you had any little boys, I probably waited on you. Our busy time was back to school, and of course then Easter, and always communion. We always had to have a lot of size 8 navy blue suits and white shirts. And then in 1964, our church was started, organized, and my church is the United Methodist Church of Brook Park, and I've been active in that. I've slowed down a little bit, but I was very active in it. I was the chairperson for Alder Guild, too. We had a parish nurse at that time also, and Fairview Hospital talked to her about if a group of us would like to make the quilts for the cancer patients. When they have chemo, they need something to keep them warm, and the quilts were good. I had talked to a cancer doctor, and I had made 4 previous to that, so I knew how to do it, and I had a pattern for it. It was very simple, 4 squares across, 6 down, and they were beautiful. There was no hand sewing at all. It was all done by my machine, and we took pictures of them. And even my husband, when he would do his exercise by walking, he would come and say, I don't think that color goes with this color. So he did help us too with that. But we gave them also, if we had a friend who was going through treatment, we gave it to her. I don't know if we ever counted all of them we made, but we would get letters from people, and we would just put a little tag on it that said our church, and they would send it. And it was a very good project. We still have one woman that is doing that, but the rest of us have gotten a little bit older, and it's too hard to do it. But we did have the satisfaction of doing something good. And then I saw an article about a woman had made, her son was a serviceman, and she had made him a scarf out of their colors, you know, camouflage colors. And so when the captain saw that, he said, would you ask your mother to make 20 more? And of course she did. And I got the telephone number and called her, and then we started making scarves too. And we made a lot of them and gave them to the USO. And for that work and helping that start that, I was nominated for the Best of Brook Park, the first ones that started, and from our church, and I was very proud of that, and still am. It was something that we did to help other people. Now, if you want a little history or so, we can go back, and I can talk about that too. I was about 12 years old when I saw Lindbergh go down the street. He had just come in at the airport, and he was going down to downtown, and he sat, you know how they used to have these things raised in the back instead of the roof, you know, they just had the seats they sat in, and he was sitting in there. And that was a thrill to think that there was this man that had flown by himself in this little plane over the whole Atlantic Ocean. But I would like to read a biography about him. That would be good. And I remember when the tax stamp started, and I still saved one that said was just 1 penny. That was a big step to have a stamp, have a tax on your purchases. Now, it started at 9 cents, and people were a little bit leery of that. So what they did is, if you were buying 2 5-cent items, instead of paying for the 2 and having to pay a penny tax, they would buy 1 at a time, and then they saved a penny. And if they had 4 pennies, then they had a nickel. Times were different then. A penny was very important. And now we pay our sales tax and don't even think twice about that. But it's all for a good cause. And also Social Security. I remember when that started, and it's a very big thing. And at that time, people didn't realize just how good it is. But then it was either, if you didn't have someone to take care of you, you went to the poorhouse. And nobody wanted to go to the poorhouse. They had horror stories. Maybe they were true, maybe they weren't, but you just didn't want to go. But some people didn't have a family to take care of them, and they had to go. But that's how it was. But those are just some instances, and I could go on talking, but I think that's enough history. And I thank you.
And I'd like to thank you, Dorothy, and thank you for being my friend. I'm so thrilled that I got to meet you and become friends with you and meet some members of your lovely family. I would like for all of your family to stand up and let us see just how many family members she has here today. If you could do that for us, please. Very good. And I don't know, I'm not a singer, but would anyone like to lead us in a happy birthday song here? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dorothy. Happy birthday to you. And many more. I'd like to present you with this resolution, and it tells you that all of council and the mayor and all of council wish to congratulate you for your 100th birthday. And I brought you a small flower. I'll let Denise hold it. And it's a living plant, and we want you to keep that thing alive and pass it down to your children, okay? Thank you. Okay.
I said, I think this is wonderful tonight for you to ask me to come and to listen to me. But that's great. And I'm looking forward to this next 100. I've got a clear...
And that reminds me of one last thing. When I asked Dorothy about how it felt to be 100 and how she could walk around and enjoy life, and she says, and I asked her how she was doing with that, and she says, well, I'm walking a lot better today than I did 100 years ago.
All right, thank you. Happy birthday, Dorothy. Okay, council, I'd like to accept a motion to go back to the regular order of business.
Motion so made.
Support.
Is there a motion to go back to the regular order of business? Seeing no discussion, I'll ask the clerk, please call the roll.
Mancini,
Yes.
Troyer,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Bergio.
Yes.
Salvatore,
Yes.
All right, motion's accepted. We go back to the regular order of business. We go to letter C on the agenda, which is approval of minutes of preceding meetings. Item number 1, we have a regular council meeting that was held on July 18th, 2017.
Motion to approve the July 18, 2017 meeting minutes. Still got it?
Discussion, sir? I guess it's too late now.
Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Powers. Okay, there's been a motion to adopt the minutes. Is there any discussion? Councilman Scott?
Yes, I obviously I was a little bit too slow on the draw. Jimmy's real quick over there. I tried to get hold of the council clerk yesterday, but she was off. I just had a question on the introduction of ordinance resolutions, first reading. Number 2, we have here, after a lengthy discussion, this is about the vehicles, and there was motion by Mr. Salvador, supported by Mr. Scott, to suspend. It says here, after a lengthy discussion between council members Troyer, Mancini, Salvador, and Powers, as for the reasons for suspension, the emergency clause and deadline date for ordering of the police vehicles, I can't even tell you what reason why the suspension didn't go through. I think this is very vague. I was hoping to have a little more dialogue as to what happened in here. You know, I'm going to have to vote no on these because I don't know why the motion was suspended. I think there's 3 or 4 different reasons.
For clarity, what page are you on that?
I'm on page 7. Ordinance 2, number 2. Ordinance number 192, 2017. Bottom of the page, it says motion by Mr. Salvador.
Right.
I mean, I have the foggiest idea why this wasn't passed for suspension. Like I said, Mr. Troyer and Mrs. Powers had various reasons why this didn't go on, so I was just hoping that we'd have a little deeper dialogue as to why that didn't pass. But like I said, Mr. Mancini was quick on the draw, so I couldn't get my motion in.
Withdraw.
Put the dialogue in there if that's what you want.
You want to put the dialogue in there?
Sure.
All right, so you want me to withdraw? You want me to withdraw? Okay.
Motion, you want to amend?
All right. I'll withdraw my motion. I'm going to make a motion to amend.
Withdraw the second then?
Yes, support.
Okay.
Okay, can I make a motion to place this on the next council agenda, next caucus agenda for further dialogue? We could have a little bit more reasoning as to, hopefully maybe a little verbatim as to what happened in that section.
So your motion is to place them on the next caucus agenda
For approval,
for
but
discussion at the caucus agenda.
Yeah, if we can have
On
that.
how you want it handled. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there support for that motion?
Support.
Okay, so the motion is to take the minutes for the July 18th meeting and place it on the next caucus agenda for discussion about item number 2
On the first
on
reading.
page
Correct.
7.
Correct.
Just under discussion. Councilman Mancini?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Had I known this beforehand, I wouldn't have
It's
been
okay.
so quick to kind of throw that out there. I wanted to test myself on not being here for a little bit. So I have no problem going back and doing this. I actually think it's a pretty important piece,
Thank you.
anytime you're dealing with safety forces. So I have no problem doing that. So
Thank you.
thank you, Council President.
Okay, any other discussion? Councilman Salvatore?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the discussion was lengthy, and everybody had an opportunity to speak their mind. It's already written, so I think all we really have to do is just send this back to the clerk to add into that section what was discussed. I don't think we have to put it on the agenda and discuss it again. It's already been discussed. So just amend those minutes to reflect what was said, and to put it back on the council agenda under the new form.
Okay, discussion, council?
I agree on that.
Is there any other discussion, council? Okay, seeing no other discussion, we'll call the roll. Motion is to place the July 18th meeting minutes on the next caucus agenda for discussion about item number 2. Clerk, please call the roll.
Scott?
Yes.
Bergia?
Yes.
Salvatore?
Yes.
Troyer?
No.
Powers?
No.
McDonald?
Abstain.
Mancini?
Yes.
4 yeses, 2 noes, 1
Okay, the
abstention.
vote was 4 yeses, 2 noes, and 1 abstention. So the meeting minutes will be placed on the next caucus agenda next week.
Thank you.
Okay, that conclude?
Do
Yes.
they want them typed in that format
Can you?
by next Tuesday?
Is it possible?
Okay, that's fine. Just so I know what I'm doing. Thank you.
I know you're good.
Okay, that concludes the items under letter C. So we'll move to letter D, which is reports of standing committees. We'll go to Aviation and Environmental, Councilwoman Powers.
No report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to the Finance Committee, Councilwoman McDonald.
No report this evening.
Okay, then we'll go to the Legislative Committee, Councilman Troyer.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Legislative Committee has one item on tonight's on tonight's council agenda, and I'd like to again announce that there's quite a few things in the Legislative Committee, and at this point, since some of them have been there long enough, where any member of council could have any of these pieces taken out of committee. If you want them out, just let myself or the clerk know, and I'll get them on the next agenda. Mayor, I know, I believe you have 2 in there, and Mr. President, you have a couple. So again, anybody at this time could pull these pieces out of the committee if they would like them on the agenda. If you like them out, just send me myself or the council clerk an email or a phone call, and I'll pull them out for you. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Parks and Recreation Committee, Councilman Mancini.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I appreciate that. I first off want to say it's very good to be back. I want to thank, and there's a lot of you out there, there's a lot up here for the fine support while I was off. I want to say Southwest Hospital, I know Mr. Salvatore, I think, is going to have a report tonight. I would have to give them 100 on a scale of 1 to 10. They were fantastic, and that's all the way around. So it's good to be back, and I'm going to give you my little recreation report. A little lengthy, but I'll make it quick. But as you probably mostly know, baseball, softball's concluded. The proclamation ceremony was Saturday at the rec center at 11 o'clock. Everyone in attendance got free ice cream, which was donated by Mayor Coyne. And I'm going to give you the champions from 2017, all the teams. The 7 and 8-year-old girl champions were Team Councilman Salvatore. 7 and 8 boy champions were the Indians. 7 and 9-year-old boys were the Blue Jays. 11 and 12-year-old boys champions, Team Councilman Salvatore. Congratulations. Basketball, it's usually little Mancini in there, but Rick does a good job with the baseball. So the 13 and 14-year-old boys champions were the Brook 8 Barbershop. The 15 and 14-year-old was the American Legion, and that would have been the boys. Female softball player of the year was little Hannah Check, who actually plays basketball for me. Male baseball player of the year was Troy Scheck, who was once my quarterback. Girls volunteer coach of the year, Brian Beyer. Boys volunteer coach of the year is Bob Conroy. Congratulations, all the teams, all the coaches, all the volunteers, everybody, because it might not seem like it. We had a lot of rain, we had a lot of things go on this year, so, and we do it between, Memorial Day, home days you got in there, 4th of July, so it's pretty tough for them coaches, and you got vacations. They do a great job, and so do the players. As you may be seeing coming up here today, the football, and I was out there a little earlier, and cheerleading practices have started. The starting date will be over at Kennedy September 9th. If you get a chance, come on over, see our teams, and give some good support. The family luau was last Friday evening at the water park. 150 families in attendance. They all received a enjoyed hula contest, which I couldn't do at the time, dance contest, limbo contest. Once again, I was out, but it was a good time. There was a lot of, some of them really went low, probably this low below that little line where they put that stick out. It's amazing what some of these kids could do. Special thanks to Councilman Scott for assisting and donating some great door prizes. Here's a couple things to remember coming up here. The drive-in movie for Finding Dory was this past Saturday. It was a good event, okay? 90 families, so now you know about it. We had it, so we'll look forward for that for next year. It was a really good evening of fun. They had the glow sticks, door prizes, swimming under the stars while searching and watching for Dory. Okay, I don't know if Dory was in the pool out there, but she won't be there this Saturday when the dogs come in, and I'll get to that in a minute. But special thanks to Marianne and Ron Fields for getting the door prizes on that one. Okay, on these dates, this Wednesday, August 16th, the Mayor's Back to School Supply giveaway. Okay, that'll be tomorrow. The event will start at 5:30. I know we publicize this pretty good. It'll be at the Rec Center. This is a supplement to children's supply needs. I was over there today, and there's some really nice stuff for the kids for school, the notebooks, the bags, and all that stuff. I know a lot of parents shopping now for that stuff, so I believe they start next Tuesday. So is that right? Sure. Thank you, Rachel. So it's a first come, first served basis to supply while they last. Any questions, call Marianne Fields tomorrow at the Rec Center. This Friday, August 18th, we have another movie in the park at Mona, and it'll be right over here at the Kennedy Pavilion. We're seeing a football. That'll be at 8:30. Gina, the hot dog girl that does the, you see her at the baseball between the two fields, Gina will be over there selling refreshments. Door prizes will be given away. Bring your own chair, blanket to view the movie. And then this Saturday is going to be that dog in the park, okay? The annual dog swim at the water park. It's always a good event and gets pretty crowded over there too. And the event's from 11 to 1. Participants get a free picture of them and their little fur baby. I didn't put that in there, but that's in there. So we have some doggy daycares and some pet vendors on this site, which is always good. Here's one I'd like to address too. It's a really good event. It's the summer concerts at the gazebo. It's every Thursday right out here. It's a great event. There's some good music. I believe Councilman Bergio was there with his son a couple weeks ago, did a good job. So I think we got a few more lined up, but they're on every Thursday over here, right over here. So bring a lounge chair if the weather's good. Bring cooler. There's usually refreshments anyway, Mr. Scott, am I right? It's a really good event. It is. You see a lot of people you know, and spend a nice little evening, okay? So, but that's all I have. I appreciate it. A little long-winded, but when you're coming back and you get that break, that happens. So thank you, Council President.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to the Planning Committee. Councilman Troyer.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Planning Committee meeting was canceled this month because of no request for approval. And at this point, I'd just like to say, wish a very, I don't know how old you are, but happy birthday to the Council President. It is, again, actually his birthday today, so I'd like to wish him a happy birthday and then carry on, because that's how you want it.
Okay, thank you.
Do we get to sing again?
I'm not 100. Hope to be someday, though. Okay, we'll go to the Safety Committee. Councilman Salvatore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no report this evening.
Okay, we'll go to the Service Committee. Councilman Bergio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Service Committee has nothing new to report.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Board of Zoning Appeals. Councilman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Board of Zoning has nothing tonight. We were canceled also.
Okay, that concludes the items under letter D. We'll move to letter E, which is reports of special committees. We'll go to Southwest General Health Center Trustee, Councilman Salvatore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Work continues on our population health strategy. The key to our success will be putting the patients at the center of the strategy as we align incentives with delivering better patient care, more cost-effective care, and obviously healthier people. Our first-year employee turnover continues to improve. Our overall retention for new employees hired in 2017 is now at 94%. This is about 4% higher than last year. Patient experience progress continues in a very positive direction as measured by the accomplishments of improvements out of 7 out of the 9 categories relating to delivery of care. The new room service program was recently implemented by the nutrition services, and the program allows patients to order the food that they want and when they would like to eat it. So it has been well received by the patients and the employees without any issues. And we are on target or even better than target in all areas of quality and safety measures, which is a great accomplishment and it's also very good news. Southwest General has once again was honored with the Mission Lifeline Achievement Award from the American Heart Association for quality improvement measures for patients who suffer severe heart attacks. And the Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency, the NOACA, has notified Southwest that we will receive a grant in the amount of $38,868 to replace one of our community vans. The van service is used to provide transportation to people in our community who do not have it available to them to get to their medical appointments. And the Walter Bourne Foundation has awarded Southwest $25,000 grant to support the renovation of the maternity unit. This is the second year we have received that award, so that funding from the foundation. So a big thank you goes out to the Walter Bourne Foundation. And finally, the annual Southwest Community Health Foundation golf outing was once again a sold-out event. Another big thank you goes out to the tremendous support from our community for their participation and for sponsorships. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to the Berea Board of Education Committee. Councilman Bergio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I attended the August 7th school board meeting. The superintendent mentioned that the summer maintenance of the buildings was underway to get them ready for the 2017-2018 school year. The annual administrative retreat was to be held yesterday, August 14th at Skyview Lodge in Brunswick. Back to school orientation is to begin with a meet and greet. Student schedules were to have been available as of yesterday for Ford students and by August 16th at other school buildings. The school logo is in its final stages of design and photos were shown on the screen for the board. The administration parking lot is being completely replaced, and that is not part of the bond issue money. It was sorely needed too, is really in bad shape. Mike Shepard gave an update on bond issue construction. Leadership teams are meeting and the board has been receiving updates by the administration on construction projects. Site work is continuing and other pre-construction work items are being done as well. Small projects have started, including removing a retaining wall at Big Creek, the bus loop and parking lot also being redone, along with landscaping. At Middleburg Junior High School, the crews are working on the AC and window replacement, which is to be completed by spring. Design work is also underway for the new high school in Berea and elementary school in Brook Park. There is a construction website available for up-to-date progress being made and current projects. Lastly, there are 3 seats on the board up for election in November. Only 2 have been filed. Anna Chapman, Berea resident, who is the president of the board, and Steve Dockman, a Middleburg Heights resident. Dave Tressel has decided not to run for another term, and Brook Park resident Fred Zabel pulled petitions but did not file. Although the deadline for filing is passed, write-in candidates have until August 28th. The board will have to appoint someone to fill a vacancy after January when a vacancy occurs in the event there is no write-in candidate. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Councilman Mancini, you have a question about the school report?
I do, through the chair to Councilman Bergio. Councilman Bergio, on that website, okay, that's where, because residents are starting to ask about the construction, what's, right. You know, you're starting to ask, because so they go to the Berea City School website is where they would go to get an update on. That's my understanding, and that I think there's a link on that. Okay. There should be. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the items under letter E. We have no items under letter F or G, so we'll move to letter H, which is reports and communications from the mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you.
And I hope that we're both in excess of 100 and still debating important issues for the city. Of course, I'll always be right and you'll be mistaken. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say that would be your point of view, yes.
Thank you very much. It's good to see that you're healthy and your mind is still good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, at the appropriate time, according to our charter, under section 408, I want to introduce legislation. We received the grant from the state of Ohio on the property on the corner of Engel and Holland. I was going to ask council to consider and pass that this evening so we can facilitate that funding going to the property owner and get that remedy. I believe council has copies of it before them this evening. And Mr. Mancini, I'm glad to see everything was good at Southwest. As soon as I get the details on his future hernia operation, I will announce that to all the citizens of Brook Park, just like he did mine. So stay tuned for details.
Shh, don't tell. Shh.
At any rate, a few things going to be going on here in the city. On September the 7th, we're going to have a neighborhood meeting, which I'll get with Councilman Powers on, over in the Ashland, Harrison, Shelby area to talk about the proposed dog park at Weedo Park. That'll be followed on September 14th with a citywide meeting on that proposal at the rec center at September 14th at 7 o'clock. So we'll begin to have a discussion about that proposal for our city. We're kind of excited about it. I think folks, when they see it, will be excited about it. And I know everybody walking door to door in this season are experiencing the wonderful dog population we have in the city. I saw 4 golden labs in one house the other day, and they were doing very well. Also on September the 10th of 2017 will be the 16th anniversary of Never Forget 9/11. And that ceremony is always held here at the memorial, followed by a processional ride to honor and remember the 59 passengers and crew of American Flight 77 and the 125 fallen from the Pentagon. Any questions, you can contact the coordinator at 440-263-8121, and that's John Kickle. And you'll see probably one of the most amazing displays of the American flag by our local firefighters here in Brook Park. So it's a pretty neat ceremony. Whether you're a motorcycle enthusiast or not, it's an important day for our country to remember and never forget. And I think you'll be very impressed with the display here of affection and honor and concern of our families. Also, I'd like to point out that on September the 21st, we're going to have a public hearing at the pool building in the rec center of our city. This issue seems to have a great deal of concern by everybody. As a matter of fact, I was very impressed with the article that I saw in the recent publication here about the pool. It's beautiful. I proposed this over 20 years ago, Councilman Salvatore and I. And you'll read in here where I said that the rec center should be demolished back at that time. I think I was right then. I think I've been proven right today. At that time, we could have built a brand new rec center for $8 million. During the one that we have now alleviated some of the problems. We couldn't get the support. And what's sad, at that time, we had the money. I believe that I've given the council about a month or two ago about a similar project being built in Pennsylvania, now running between $10 and $12 million. So I'm really glad that we've seen this proposal or this rendering, and we can have a community discussion about it, about how necessary it is and how we're going to pay for it within the limits of what we had. So I'm really welcoming that so folks can see what the real issues are there. It's simply not filling the water and hiring the lifeguards. And our recent report will basically show you that we believe will show that it's not safe to be operating in that building. As a matter of fact, I think the pool has a greater chance of being filled with bricks, falling bricks and failed mortar than it does with water anytime soon. But it's a very serious discussion we have to have going forward as a community, and I think it should be taken in the context of what makes sense, what we can afford, and what our needs is, rather than just thrown out there as a political proposal that it's just going to work because somebody draws up a real nice rendering. The only thing is, one picture in the front was taken in the wintertime, and as far as I know, that the last day of the water park, it's been open all year on Saturday and Sunday, is for the dog swim on August the 19th. So I'm looking forward to having that discussion so people can see for themselves exactly what the situation is and decisions that we have to make. Excuse me. Also on September the 23rd, from 11 to 2 at our rec center, we're going to have a big safety fair with all of the different entities that keep us safe, having presentations and demonstration there, and it'll be a good situation for the kids and for the community to see all the wonderful things that our safety forces do for the city and the very agencies that they interact with. More communities are doing this, and we feel folks can get some really important information about what's going on in our region. You can see the collaboration of so many of the different agencies and cities and how we work together in what we do. And I think it'll top what our police and fire did at Home Days, and that was pretty impressive for people to see. Also, on September the 12th, I'd like to call a special meeting of council, since we're not going to have a primary, to discuss all the different improvements that we have to make absent the contract that Brewer Garrett has over at the community center, the John A. Pauley Community Center. I would hope council before that time would go and visit the Lakewood City Council, see how they operate. It's a multi-use room, just like we're proposing to build at the rec, where they use it for council meetings, for community meetings, for planning and zoning, and they also use it for various community gatherings, be it senior luncheons or other things the city use it for. So I think the use is something that meets our needs. It's kind of what I've envisioned for our operations over there, and I would encourage council to do that, because the proposals will be coming in on those issues and the phones as well. Finally, I want to recognize Rick Salvatore takes a lot of ribbing about coaching the teams and his success, and it wasn't too long ago that Councilman Mancini was in the same boat. I think everybody knows that Rick and I played Little League ball together, and we come from a time in this city when we were Williamsport Little League. So Rick and I have a lot of fond memories of that, and that's why the awards thing and some of the things we do is a carry on long before we were ever here. But as a matter of fact, recently I had a woman from Middleburg Heights who chastised me because the Brook Park teams were beating them quite intensely, and was upset with me as the mayor as why they didn't do something about it. I go, they were trained to do that. So we're kind of proud of that, all right? And Rick's success has really gone unmatched, and they kid him all the time that his kids drive to the game, or they fly their own airplanes or helicopters or whatever it may be. He had a very special young man on his team this year that I got to see over the last 2 years. And having a special needs son, I'm sensitive to that. But this special person, I recognize him, I say, I'm not going to give his name tonight because I don't want him to think I can keep using his name. But he's a very special person. And what he demonstrates to us is what we all need to do. The challenge that he faces to play ball, and play it very well, is a pretty amazing story of this city, but mostly for his coach, Rick Salvatore. He's not going to blow his own horn, but I've watched this, and I think it needs to be mentioned, because it shows you the type of person that he is, that when others probably would have found a way to discourage this young man from participating and playing, he made it a point to take the challenge on along, and to see him play and how he produced was absolutely remarkable. And so I just wanted to make that remark about my friend. So while he had a championship season, I think his work and his coaches with this very special young man was something that, while people can criticize us for beating them on the athletic field, which we enjoy doing, they should see the compassion that our coaches have for young people that, absent their dedication, might not have that opportunity. God bless you, by the way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Council, any questions to the mayor? Councilman Mancini?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mayor, that young man you're referring to actually worked for our recreation center this year too. I believe he worked with the kids over here at Huffsey and Forbes. I think he's an umpire, and he did a great job. A lot of parents, you heard a lot of good props for that young man when he worked, because he worked very hard and he did a great job. Mayor, on the pool, which is, obviously very, very dear to my heart. Obviously, we're all out walking and we're hearing a lot of things, and I know a lot of people want the pool, and it's going to be great to see that on the 21st. So I think a lot of people are going to be looking forward to that, as I am this special meeting with Brewer Garrett. But again, as you're talking to people, by no means is the pool the end all. Our residents have a lot of other needs, and some of the things that I'm hearing, and I'm sure a lot of others are hearing them as well as yourself. I guess maybe one of the top things is, I'm going to hit two. I'm going to beat this up all day. One is the Ford plant. So I think I hear a lot of residents give suggestions. I think they think that Ford could just give us the land and we could just do what we want. Well, that ain't going to happen, as you'd stated before. But is there any progress on anything over there that I think the last meeting was about a month ago that you had discussed a little bit. Has there been any progress on anything yet, or maybe something down the way here? Because I think a lot of residents would really like to see a little bit more action over there.
Okay, well, let me be clear that Ford has not been in compliance with city ordinances since they've closed the foundry. And for 3.5 years now, we've been engaged with dialogue with them about improving the property themselves, bringing new work to the site, allowing others to repurpose and redevelop the property, and they have not moved. And as you heard me say at one meeting, it might be the point that we have to enforce our ordinances. It would cost them several $1 million to comply with our ordinances. So we've been trying to work with them to find a solution to the problem, which is, in every situation, one that is very expensive. We've had two groups interested, seriously, made offers, posted performance bond on reclamation of the property that Ford has failed to act on. The plasma igniter that I talked about, Brook Park, is their selection. They want to go in the old aluminum foundry that's on the plant site, which to my knowledge has no impediment to that building being occupied. The plasma igniter, I was at NASA the other day for a thing for the mayors, is the future in the auto industry. And Bill Ford, one of the descendants of Henry Ford, has been pushing for Ford to get a new technology so that they can deal with fuel efficiency and emissions problems. This igniter would solve the problem. So we are the lead site, and we have pitched that to Ford as something we want to see accomplished. They have submitted to us someone who is interested in a mixed-use development at Ford Motor Company. And we've talked to them, and we believe the mixed use has to be a mix of technology development, a mix of manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, a mix of educational opportunities in advanced manufacturing, so that the jobs created there will generate income tax for our city. And as everybody knows, this town literally, as most cities in Ohio today, it makes or breaks us as to how much income tax that we take in. So we're in discussions with them. I hope next week the new gentleman from Ford Land will be here. I have another group that's interested in presenting. I'm telling you that we could have had the property developed 2 times already. And it's frustrating that we don't have the particular control over the property. We suggested to them that they give it to us and allow us to do the remediation, because it's arguably the finest industrial site in the center of the United States. It has so many opportunities, and opportunities, I believe, for new work for the UAW workers independent of Ford Motor Company. So we're going to keep moving on that. It's something that's out of our control, but we're growing increasingly impatient by the day when we see viable alternatives coming in, and Ford has to make a decision. I hope that they're procrastinating because they might find out, well, maybe we should bring a foundry back to the site. Maybe we should make engines in Engine Plant 2 again. I would be pleased if that was the decision. I think a lot of things going around now with the president, with NAFTA and other trade agreements could impact that. it may be the case because of the new wage requirements and the legacy costs, which have been adjusted for the workers there, might make that a more viable site. That would be my ultimate goal. So the answer that I have for you is I'd like it resolved tomorrow. Is the ability there to resolve it tomorrow? Yes, it is. Okay, but we just have, they are in control. I understand, having said all that, I understand their reluctance to release property because they've got burnt in the past, where they've released property, someone made commitments to them, they didn't clean it up properly, and Ford got wearing the jacket again. But the two of the entities that we have brought forward to them have done this reclamation project on major sites throughout the United States. So that's my long and short answer. I welcome the view of the pool, and I don't know about you, but what I'm hearing is I want my streets fixed.
Yeah, I was going to get to that, but yeah, the streets are big. There's no doubt about it. I mean, on any street that I walk, and unfortunately sometimes I'm at a door way too long, and that's my gift to gab, but streets, they all want their streets like Fry and all the streets that are getting done. And on the streets, Mayor, like as we hit, and you could pick the street in my ward, and I'll tell you the resident or residents, and I know you're all hearing it, speeding on the side streets. I mean, Jim, they fly down here, Jim. I mean, I hear that a lot, and I'm sure sometimes it's our own residents, and just pick the street, and I'll tell you who. So, I just wanted to bring that forward. I was going to approach it to the safety director, but I just wanted to see if you would concur that, you and many others are hearing the same thing.
Yeah, we are, Jim. Yeah, listen, this is the age-old remedy. Most of the irresponsibility is by we, the citizens ourselves. I think that sign says it all. Drive down the street like your kids are there. Right. And we put the speed box there. We've done everything. And we're writing tickets. And when we write the tickets, I know that you members of the legislature get calls. All right? And if you'll see, there was just something on the national news yesterday that there's going to be one section, I think it's in Ohio, is going to be zero tolerance if you're 1 mile over the speed limit. Okay, that you're going to get ticketed. We're trying to increase the visibilities. I know that some members of council have talked to me about speed cameras, looking at that, and we'll have a discussion with the chief about it. Those are good and bad. Citizens of Garfield voted not to have them in their town anymore. So going forward, I think right now we're doing a good job of handling it. You give us the areas, and we'll be more than happy to do what we can. But I think if all of us look in the mirror, we realize that no one's driving 25. They're driving closer to 40 down residential city streets, and that's a problem. So, again, we'll keep at it and try to do the best we can.
Okay, Mayor, I appreciate the answers, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for recognizing me.
Thank you. Councilman Salvatore?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through the chair to the mayor. Mayor, I want to thank you for the kind words, and truly I would like to thank you for recognizing that young man. I won't mention his name either, but he was definitely an inspiration, not only to our team, but I think to the entire league. Even Middleburg Heights recognized him at a game and presented him with the game ball. And at our picnic yesterday, he received 2 awards from the team. We got the Inspiration Award as well as the MVP. We were truly a better team for having him be a part of it, and I'd like to thank you, and I'd also like to thank you for having the banquet and presenting the awards to everyone. And Jimmy, I'm sorry you couldn't make it, but I do have your trophy in my car. You've been playing second base with us for 2 years now.
My girls will be there next
job.
year. Next year, I'm young teams. Thank you.
Thanks again, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Council, any other questions to the mayor? Councilman Troyer?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Mayor, I have a series of questions. First, on the plasma company, plasma igniter, wherever they open up, because they're going to open up somewhere, do you have a number on the amount of employees you're going to have and the time frame?
Yeah, a couple hundred to start. I think that's what they have now. This is a potential for probably around 1,000 jobs in this area. And we have 2 alternate sites in our city, matter of fact, in your ward, that we're looking at if we can't secure this, because time is of the essence to get this thing done. And I think its capabilities, if I may, you know, NASA, Glenn does a lot of plasma research, and I think it'd be a good marriage to have them here. So we'll get them someplace, but we'd like to begin to have them over there.
Okay, and next question is, it was mentioned earlier about the streets, and people, a lot of people don't understand the difference. A lot of people will say, you know, we need to repair the streets, but repairing the streets and rebuilding the streets or replacing the streets are two different things. So now you know, and this year we've done a lot of replacing streets and very little, if any, repairing streets. When are we going to start repairing the streets to make them last longer so they don't turn into the streets that need to be replaced?
Okay, the simple way to answer that question is we have more that need to be replaced and be repaired. And I think what you understand as a councilman, we captivated $3 million by changing the way we do some things. So will that continue on? If we have a continual source of revenue to pay for that pavement, then that's a different story. Like the director and I have talked up, and one of your pet things is all the catch basins. Can we go and let those out for contract to have those be repaired? So we're still at the place, and some of them can Sandhurst. Can we cut those joints out? But again, it's big enough that it has to be a contract. So again, we have to see what we captivate in next year's budget. Ideally, if we had a dedicated source where we knew that this percentage of our budget was going to be dedicated every year to fix the streets, then we have a debt retirement ability to do more. So right now, you know, our experience the last 2 years, we were able to captivate that money to do it this year. As you know, the one year, the only street that was done was Leslie Drive in your ward. So the long answer to your question is, once we have dedicated revenue that's going to be somewhat permanent rather than flexible, and flexible on the downside rather than the higher side, we'll be able to undertake more long-range repair as to replacement. And look at Holland Road by the schools. You know, we applied for a grant. We thought that we had it. We got knocked off the list, and hopefully that will come back again. But that road is another one. It has to be replaced, and we have so many of our main streets and secondary streets that have to be that way. So again, hopefully we'll have some rosier outlooks on the money that we have, and you have to make choices. You know, everybody asks me, you want a pool or you want your street fixed? You want this or you want that? You know, how many things come out of the same pool of money? So we'll see what happens in the future. Hopefully we're around to make those decisions.
Okay, yeah, speaking of Leslie, yeah, that was actually an old project that was expanded under this administration and then finally completed. Another question is, last meeting, the last council meeting on the 18th, July, you stated the city has looked at every report, and most of the problems is water coming through the walls as far as basement flooding. So I've never seen these reports. I have a limited experience in helping people during the floods in different areas, and most of those people, it's coming up through the drain pipe. So can you provide me with those reports so I can get an idea of where the issues are and what's going on? Because this is something I've been asking for, and also I'd like to know what the outcome of cross connections that we've had, because supposedly a few years ago we were supposed to have gone through the city and smoke checked and everything else and seen where the cross connections are. And I know we fixed a lot of them, so I'd also like to get a report on you know, where those were, which ones are fixed, and which ones still exist, so I can get a handle on what's going on with that.
Okay, if I may, I said most of what I saw of the complaints were waters through the wall. So we have the preliminary log from the service department, probably with a follow-up visit. Do we have detailed reports in that? No, just our general log, I would imagine. We did some thorough analysis on some of the cross connections. We did offer a 50-50 plan on elimination of some of those cross connections, and there was no response. The reason I mentioned through the walls is we're starting to see more of that as the issue. And I believe we can construct maybe in next year's budget, kind of like the HMAP program, where we have an assistance for folks who have to have, you know, you're talking 20 grand to redo the seal on your basement walls or footer repairs. Can we go and bid that out in aggregate? Let's say we have 10, 20 homeowners, and we come up with a 50-50 match on these things, because I believe under the auditor, as long as it's an assistance program, we can't pay for total improvements on private property unless the law's been changed. So that's something going forward. We looked at cross connections. There was no real response to it. Maybe the assistance with the footer and the wall sealing may be something that's more attractive to people, but you know, so that's where we're at that particular time.
Okay, thank you. And I had asked about the Blue Line project with where the Whites own that, well, did own that property, and that was something we gave a grant to, and you responded that the city personnel would be over there tomorrow and take a look, because there's still mounds of debris in the back, and there's some other, you know, the landscaping and the final never went through the planning commission. Has anything been checked on that? Are those mounds still there? I haven't had a chance to check.
Okay, well, the good news is the building is filled. Okay, so I will double check with Ted. It's something that I did not file up. I would assume that he was assigned that, and he's pretty stellar about doing it, but I will double check for you on that issue tomorrow.
Okay, and one other item is, just reading my notes here. The overpass, overpass, underpass is something I asked about, but that's, you can, if you have any more information on the overpass, underpass on Sheldon, that'd be nice. But also, I talked about the intersections, and you said you will have the city engineer take a look at the area, because there's no turn signals and there's a lot of congestion over there, especially on 237 in Sheldon with the big gas station being put in there, and there's a lot of backup on Sheldon to the west at Angle, because there's no turn signal and people just can't get to the intersection. So you said you'd have the engineer take a look at that area. Has that happened?
Yes. The City of Berea is planning out for a contract and improvement to the pavement there at 237 in Sheldon Road. We're going to participate in that. There's ongoing dialogue about the arrow, who's going to have to pay for it, or can we share it? So we're getting close there. So the intersection, the pavement's going to be improved, which causes a lot of problems. It's pretty tough to go through there the way it is. So that we agree on. The signal is, I think, still outstanding, and maybe the engineer can comment when his time comes.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
You're welcome.
Council, any other questions to the mayor? Seeing no other questions, we'll move the agenda. We'll move to letter I, which is reports and communications from departments, commissions, and other public officials. We'll go to the city engineer, Mr. Piatek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple projects, actually quite a few projects to report on this evening. Just a quick update on Michael Drive. This is the section between Snow and Hummel. We did that last year. There's still some landscaping over there. Didn't quite take the way we had hoped. So the contractor will be back out in the fall to take a look at doing some additional landscape work over there to get that up to snuff. Fry Road reconstruction, project's complete. We're working on final project closeout, punch lists, things of that nature. And landscaping over there is, at least in the northerly section, there's some lawns that look good. There's some lawns that don't look so good. It would help, it will help the lawn with some of the grass that is growing in there, some of the weeds that if it's mowed. So if the residents could help us out and mow the lawns when they're mowing the rest of their, or mow the tree lawn when they're mowing the rest of their lawn, we'd appreciate that. Brookdale, that was a road reconstruction, a waterline projects wrapped up, similar to Fry. We're doing final punch list, closeout items, and there's some landscaping that needs to be addressed over there as well. Snow Road resurfacing, section 1, that's just west of Dolores to 130th. Final surface course was installed. Pavement markings are going down. This afternoon, spoke with the contractor. He wasn't certain if all of the markings were going to get finished today. If not, they'd be finished tomorrow. With that, section 1 would be pretty much completed with the exception of some landscaping, and the landscaping will be completed under temporary lane closures. So we'll have all the lanes open to traffic here in the next few days. Work on still on Snow Road, work down at 237, the concrete work on the west end, that's winding down. They'll do some temporary striping over there, and then they'll be focusing on the asphalt work between, say, the Park and Fly and Dolores. So project's moving along. It's good to see at least section 1 closed up and get those businesses back to some normalcy over there. The 2017 sidewalk repair program. This is what we call phase 1, basically Angle Road to the west. Money was due for participants by the end of July. We've extended that deadline here till next week. So if any residents wants to participate in that program, they still have an opportunity. We will be having a pre-construction meeting set up for next week. So there will be some activity over there in the near future with those sidewalks getting completed. Bowfen reconstruction projects between Doris and Fry. Anticipate some activity over there starting sometime next month, but it looks like it's going to be quiet for a couple weeks over on that project. Calvin Drive reconstruction, started that project last week. Catch basins and some sewer repairs. Pavement removal operations started today on the north side of the road. We've extended the first phase of construction to include the entire north side. We're looking to save a week and a half, maybe even more on the overall project schedule, and limit the inconvenience to some of those residents over there. So that project is really moving along, and right now we're tentatively scheduled to make our first mainline pour on that north side on Monday. So a lot of activity over on that project, and right now we're maintaining eastbound local traffic between Claudia and Grossi. So kind of keep that in mind as if you have to travel through there. Middlebrook reconstruction. That's the section between Wolf and Holland. Work started over there yesterday. We're working on catch basins right now and doing some point repairs on some of the sewers. Once that work is completed, we will focus on the pavement removal operations. Right now, the notices that were sent out to the residents indicated that we will be maintaining northbound traffic. However, after some discussions with some of the safety forces, they feel as though that the better flow of traffic would be in the southbound direction. So there'll be a little change in some of the signage that'll be going up, and some of the notices that went out to those residents. We'll be sending out another, just a quick update saying, hey, you're going to have to go southbound in there, but we will be maintaining southbound traffic on that project. Sylvia reconstruction. Right now we got contracts executed, and we're on the stage now of getting some of the materials procured. The contractor's doing that. And primarily it'd be the catch basins from the concrete precaster, but I would anticipate some work, some cones, stuff going up over there probably sometime next week. So that project will be ramping up here real soon as well. Ohio Public Works Commission was at a meeting this morning to discuss some of the changes in their state capital infrastructure program That's the process that, or the program that we utilize to go after grant and loan money for some of our projects, mainly the Holland Road project in the last year or so. As the mayor indicated, we did get bumped out of the funding list this past year. We will be submitting another application for this program year. I have high expectations that our project will get funded, although there's no guarantees, as was the case last year. There'll be some legislation coming forward. Hopefully I'll have that to the law department by the end of this week, and hopefully we can get that on the agenda so we can talk about it. Ultimately, legislation, I'd like to have that passed by, I believe, the first meeting in October. Applications are due, I believe, October 4th or 5th at 4:30. So if we could have all of our ducks in a row at that time, that'd be great. Lastly, I guess I'll try and touch on the 237 intersection. I've been in dialogue with people in Berea, with their city engineer. They have a couple projects that we're looking to, that they're looking to partner with us, and we can utilize their bidding process to secure the work that needs to be done. So, you know, it's in progress. I don't have any answers right now, definitive answers. But we will be looking at the signalization over in that area with that project. So hopefully we'll get that squared away this year as well. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Council, any questions of the engineer? Councilman Bergio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you think that all these projects that we have going, especially Calvin, Sylvia, some of the bigger projects, do you think that we will be able to finish those this year?
Yes.
They seem like pretty big projects.
Yes. Yes, I have full confidence that those projects will be completed this year.
That'll be great.
With the exception of possibly landscaping.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, I'm sure landscaping will be back to do, but yeah, roads will be open, roads will be done.
Okay. Also, looking at some of the projects that have been completed, like Fry, Brookdale, in particular, I think that they really came out really good. I think that they look fantastic. Snow Road, of course, is not completed yet. I'm glad that one phase where most of our commerce is kind of getting completed quickly, quicker than the other part of it. And it looks good. I like the way it looks. However, is there a problem with the striping? Because it did not look very good, to be honest with you. And I'm not sure if there's overspray or if they just made some mistakes, but can you elaborate on that?
Sure. With the type of paint that we've specified, which is it's an epoxy paint, you gotta prep the new asphalt before you spray it. So the subcontractor that was performing the epoxy pavement markings, he prepped basically the white lane line on both sides of the road. He prepped it, which means that he ground a little bit of the surface off. He scarified the surface in preparation of the paint. Well, he sprayed it, or he ground it in the wrong spot, and ultimately sprayed it in the wrong spot. So it was brought to my attention that that the contractor had made a mistake, and basically I was asked, what do we want to do? I said, well, the stripe's got to be in the right spot, because if the stripe isn't in the right spot with the funding that is that was secured for that project through NOACA, it was some federal money, could jeopardize the funding because the lanes didn't conform to ODOT specifications. So the contractor, the pavement contractor, prepped the proper location, striped the right location, and then water blasted the old one, or the wrong ones off. Ultimately, that was really the only way to go on having the marks placed in the right spot. And just for everybody's information, the water blasting and the surface prep and the painting of the correct lines was that cost was borne by the contractor that made the mistake. It was not absorbed by the project.
So has that been rectified? I didn't go by there today, but I know yesterday it didn't look very good. Will that be rectified and look
Yes.
good? Because the rest of it looks fantastic. It's a good job. Hate to see that finishing touches.
Yeah. It was very disappointing to see that, to see what had happened. I think within 6 months, I believe that the black, a lot of the emulsion, the tars, the color will fade of the asphalt, and the area that was water blasted will fade in. So it won't be as obvious, but yeah, there was a lot of disappointment, amongst myself and the prime contractor, who is ultimately, he wants to showcase, his projects, and the pavement markings can really, make or break it. And
Again, yeah. So, yeah, it was too bad because, like I said, the rest of the job looks very nice. I'm glad we're doing the streets, especially 3 miles of roadway on Snow Road. It's nice to have that done. So it's just a little bit of a disappointment there, but as long as it could look decent, I'll be happy that they can correct that problem.
If I can just follow up on one other item, on the striping, and if you're out there and you're driving it when they're out there spraying it, I mean, it appears that there's a lot of overspray after they're done. Mm-hmm. In reality, once traffic gets on it, what what appears to be overspray is actually glass beads that are impregnated into the wet epoxy paint. So the overspray, if you will, kind of clears up when the glass beads kind of, get dispersed a little bit more. So the overspray isn't quite overspray.
Okay, when I first saw it, it must have been freshly done at that point. I thought, wow, it looked pretty, like the stripes were like twice as wide as they should have been. But
right.
Okay,
it's not overspray. It's the glass beads that they use to impregnate the paint.
Okay, thank you, Ed. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Council, any other questions of the engineer? Councilman Mancini?
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for recognizing me. Ed, I got a few things here for you. On that Snow Road project, and yeah, yesterday we did hear about the lines, and I concur with my colleague, Mr. Bergio, that it is a very good project. It's a big project, very big project. Snow Road's a big street, one of our main arteries, so there's always going to be some type of problem, but I think they're doing a very good job over there. How much say, I know that's county a little bit, but how much say do we really have, like with the lights and things of that sort over there on the project? I mean, like a lot, like if there was some special need, I mean, could, if like a couple residents this or that, or just, could I call you or did I call the mayor? And do you guys have that kind of influence there, or do they have the final say? I know this is a company that does a lot of big projects, so.
If you're talking about something that needs to happen for something during construction, as far as signal timing?
Signal timing, take your pick, why they're doing this over here, why they storing this over here, them type of things.
If there's a question about the project, you can call me, you can have the resident call me. If I don't know the answer, I'll find out, or I'll put you in touch with ODOT or the superintendent from the construction company. But yeah, if there's a question or some kind of need, or why are we doing this or why are we doing that, I'd be happy to get, if I don't have the answer, get the answer.
That's fine. That's the answer I was looking for. On that Middlebrook, I do concur with whoever that was, safety forces, whatever. I do believe in the southbound. I actually drove over there today. Actually, I had to go over there twice. I didn't walk it, but I did, and I know a lot more people are going to be heading more south over there, maybe a little north in the morning to go to work, whatever, but there's other alternatives that way. Not that there isn't both ways, but going south, you have a lot more flow. I have some pretty good residents there that they'll concur probably. There's going to be a lot more traffic going south, so I thought that was a very good move, so tell them bravo for that. And I know there's some residents going to be happy to hear that Sylvia's starting, so that's going to be very good. And you think that will be starting early next week? Be starting to drop some stuff?
I would say sometime next week or early the following week that
Okay.
you'll start to see some cones and some barrels and some construction equipment going over there.
Beautiful. And if I may, one more thing. On them Fry Road tree lawns, and obviously they do look a little rough, and I did see the Fabrizi's trucks over there. I'm sure we'll totally follow that up, even if we have to go into next spring. But these residents, they have to start cutting that grass a little more. Are we going to do any more fertilizing this year or anything over there? Or?
Yes. The contractors, you know, like I said, I reported on Michael Drive. I've talked to them about going back to Michael, and that's been completed for, you know, for a year now. So, you know, the fact that the tree lawns didn't come out the way we wanted, you know, they're going to come back and, you know, we'll do the best we can. The grass seed that we use, I firmly believe we use a premium mix. There's a lot of factors that go into the grass that comes up. It could be weed seed that's happened to be in the topsoil that we got, or they were even questioning some of the straw that they had purchased, that there was some weed in the straw that was laid down. So, you know, you put $1 million into a road, and, you know, the grass is what you know everybody sees now. And now
Right,
that
that's
we're
funny
done,
you
and
say that, because I was on Sylvia on, didn't mean to interrupt, but on Sunday and Monday I walked my Sylvia there, and you know, and people are looking forward to getting their street done, but they say our tree lawns ain't going to turn out like that Fry Road. I go, no, they'll follow up there.
We'll keep after it. I know the contractor's been over there. They've put down some weed killer. They wanted to wait 30 days for some of the grasses that were in the seed mix to germinate before they put this this fertilizer down and some of this weed killer. So they're aware of it. They're working on it. A little help getting it mowed
Sure.
would be appreciated. And I think if you drive down Fry, you can see the houses that have mowed it, and the tree lawns look better.
I concur, and that's all that I have. Thank you for the answers too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Council, any other questions of the engineer? Councilman Troyer?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Mr. Piatek, first of all, hats off to Fabrizi. They took out almost all of the north side of Calvin today. I mean, in one day. They're really making it work for the residents there. And I'd like to thank you for all your help on the project. Thank you.
Certainly.
Council, any other questions? Seeing none. Mr. Mayor, do you have anything for service? Director's not here?
No, unless somebody has any
Okay.
questions.
Council, any questions to the mayor about service department? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to the safety director, Mr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things that we've had this summer, we've had a lot of requests for the signs the mayor mentioned during his report, Drive Like Your Kids Live Here. We still have some left, and if anybody would like one, they can contact my office or the police department, and we can provide you with one as long as we have a supply. It's had an effect. It's been reported to me that from people that had the signs, it seems to have done some good. I know we're going to get a question about speeding down side streets soon. I can only tell you once again, if somebody has a street they wish us to pay special attention to, a councilman, just let us know. We are aggressively ticketing people when they exceed the speed limit, and they are being watched. So I know that then enforcement is being done. But with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll complete my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions of the safety director? Councilwoman Mancini?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I'm a little busy tonight, but Mr. Safety Director, I by no means is anybody up here anything questioning what our police force does with tickets or anything. I know they work. They've got a job and a half. Them guys, they're always busy. They always got something going on. You know, I just think it's a little more towards. I mean, and you do a great job on 237, 480, I-71, Brook Park Road. But it's just, you know, when you're out there walking, when you're involved in the community, that is probably the heaviest thing that I hear. You and the mayor both stated, well, give us a location. I could give you a location, just pick the street. I mean, that's all I'm saying. Do I want anyone getting a ticket? Absolutely not. But maybe just once in a little bit, you know, to see You know, hey, geez, I seen a patrol car sitting there right over. That was nice. Hey, I seen a patrol car sitting there under the bridge. Hey, I seen a patrol car sitting by the stop sign. You know, I'm not pushing to get people tickets at all, but this is, you know, this is what I'm hearing out there. So that's all I want to say. I mean, you know, and I don't think you were insinuating, but our safety forces do a tremendous job, as well as our service and all our employees. So it's just a statement that I hear out there. So I have to bring it up because I know residents ask. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Burns? No question. I don't.
No, well, thank you, Councilman. I can only tell you that when we get calls, we react to them, and we move the speed trailer around. And if you may recall, last year we did a study on several streets that we thought were kind of hot, and we find out that, you know, 1 car out of 200 might be really going over what we would allow without giving somebody a ticket. I know it seems like more when you're living on a street, but in reality, it's not as often as you think it is. But we do still patrol, and we're doing the job that you have asked us to do. And if anybody has anything, special requests for a street, I'll certainly have the police pay special attention. We've done it, and sometimes it turns out that you are correct. Sometimes it turns out that we have just kind of wasted our time because nobody's speeding at that particular time. But it is an impediment to speeding when they see a police car in the neighborhood. That's what our goal is. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Bergio?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, just to follow up, David, just want to thank you for following up with that resident in the Fairlawn area with the speeding issue and
Yes.
the dirt bike issue. And that was pretty quick turnaround. The very next day, after I talked with him, I spent an hour with him on his porch talking to him. And I think going there today really, I think, made him feel that the response was good. So I'm grateful for that. Thanks for meeting with them.
That's no problem. Thank you.
Councilman Troyer?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Mr. Burns, I like some of those signs. Can I just go to the police station during normal hours, or where can I get one? A few of them, actually.
There's a limited supply left, but if you tell me what you would need, I can certainly provide that to you if I have enough. So if you give me a number,
up to 5 would be nice.
contact me tomorrow. I'll have it waiting for you in the lobby of the police department.
All right,
or
thank
you
you.
can contact me directly tomorrow, and I'll get them to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you, Mr. Burns. We'll move to the Law Department. Mrs. Horvath.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe the council has received the pending litigation list. You'll notice we have 3 matters. One is a foreclosure where service has finally been completed. The other is a case that is pending in Common Pleas Court involving a hotel in town, some safety issues, request for an injunctive relief which was not granted, and then a claim for malicious prosecution. The newer matter, which appears, is in federal court, and that is a civil rights matter, which is just in the beginning of its process. Answers are being filed, and I believe there's a case management conference that is scheduled for September 15th. So all of the cases really are sort of in mid-level stage, and I think they'll be on that list for a while. I don't expect them to go away in the near future. At this point in time, I'd like to ask your indulgence. I'm going to speak a little bit longer than I usually do, but I wanted to have an opportunity to explain some new procedures that the Law Department is going to use to process legislation requests and present them to council. I brought with me today some visual aids. Just so that everybody will have a little bit better understanding. And what I have here is the new embossing stamp that will go on each page that is sent to council, and we will be using watermarked paper. This is the brand new stamp which we will be using. And then last but not least, we have the Old Faithful
the old stamp that we have been using for, I have no idea how many years. This is its first trip outside of the law department. And when I take it back over, it'll in all likelihood be retired. So I just wanted to bring these along to kind of give everyone an idea of what I'm talking about. And I also wanted to take an opportunity to just review a little bit of history and some legal and procedural underpinnings to explain why this new process is going to be instituted. Ohio Revised Code 291342 basically says that no person, knowing the person has no privilege to do so, and with purpose to defraud, or knowingly that the person is facilitating a fraud, shall do any of the following: falsify, destroy, remove, conceal, alter, deface, or mutilate any writing, computer software, data, or record. Now, we have an ordinance here in the city of Brook Park, ordinance number 121.02, which talks about the duties of the council clerk and indicates that it's the council clerk's duty to have custody of official documents, reports, papers, communications received by council, and to have custody and control of all files of the council. That basically is something that is reiterated in Council Rule 10. Basically, the second paragraph of Council Rule 10 says almost exactly the same thing. And Council Rule 12C and 12D indicate that it's the responsibility of the law department to take council's requests for legislation and prepare the legislation, and then make sure that the legislation is certified that they are in correct form. I would also note that Council Rule 5, which is a lengthy rule, discusses standing committees, how they meet, and obviously everyone knows that they meet when we have caucus meetings. That's the only time they meet, and they meet as a committee of the whole. I think that was an issue that came up in January of 2016, and that had been thoroughly discussed. So past practice for the law department has been to receive requests from council members. Could be a telephone request, could be just a short note, it could be something that is more extensive. Take and prepare the legislation requested, then certified it by stamping it, and then sending it over to the council office. And that was the procedure that was basically used up until November 15th of 2016. And at that time it was discovered that there were two pieces of legislation that appeared to be altered by correction tape. At that point in time, the law department decided that we were going to bring legislation to the council office and have each page stamped. So that has basically been our procedure. There may be occasions where we didn't have each page stamped because there would be lengthy exhibits or attachments. But nonetheless, that is what we have been doing to date. And we have a notebook in council file that has all of the legislation since that date stamped. So once the alteration was discovered, I had sent a memo, I believe it was November 15th, to council, and I didn't receive any responses to exactly what happened. So I sent another memo on November 22nd, and I believe I discussed that at the council meeting. And I still didn't receive any response to how it happened. So about a week later, roughly around November 30th, I asked the Brook Park Police to inquire as to the circumstances surrounding this, and they did so. And they found that out of the two pieces of legislation, one piece, the original piece, was missing from the council office. The second piece, which is a bigger piece, had the first page missing. So I guess it's fair to state that the originals, having been altered, disappeared. Now, I am not casting aspersions on anyone. I'm simply detailing this factually so that everyone will understand the importance of this and the importance of making sure that we have integrity within both the law department and the council office. The law department continues to stamp things, and what we have done is we have gone at this point to the embossed seal, which acts as almost like a notary seal, and it has something that looks like it is the maybe the size of a nickel with a little design on it. And of course we will use the new stamp. After discovering that, there was a referral to the Sheriff's Department because one of the pieces of legislation dealt with police salary, and it was felt that there could potentially be a conflict of interest. Sheriff's Department investigated it and suggested that an internal investigation be done. That internal investigation was voted upon by council on or about April 11th, and we continue to have that investigation being ongoing. The investigation probably was based on the altering of the legislation, the fact that the original pieces are missing from the council office, and then other issues concerning council administration, including backlog of minutes, and also issues with regard to the website. Now, on June 27th, at the caucus meeting, there were 4 pieces of legislation that appeared on the agenda. These particular pieces of legislation were not presented or stamped by the law department and given to the council office. And that's sort of a problem. Once again, we have a breach of the process, and anytime procedure isn't followed, that's always bad. The stamp that we have that we're retiring is something that is low tech, and certainly seen its use through the years. You can see it's very, very simple. One of the things with regard to this stamp is when you stamp it, it leaves ink residue on the paper. And every time you stamp it, it is always consistently the same. The legislation that was presented was not consistent, and in all likelihood does not have ink residue on it at all, the originals, and appears to have been modified or manipulated in some way by some kind of computer software. So basically what that means is that our little council stamp is technologically obsolete. While it served its purpose, we can no longer rely on it as something that will help us determine what an original is, nor can we rely on the council clerks giving us a stamp on each page of the legislation, because software can manipulate, erase, and be used to eliminate something. So that is the reason why we are going to the watermark paper. Each original piece of legislation will have the watermark on it, and each piece of legislation will somewhere have that embossing seal on it. Now, I know people perhaps have many thoughts about these issues. I assure you that I don't take them lightly. I think it's very important that we as a city maintain the integrity of our various offices, and the law department will always certify and stamp legislation that it sends over and presents. It would seem that once presented to council, that's where the issues or the problems lie. And I just wanted to briefly detail this so that there would be an understanding by council of what the law department is doing with the new embossed stamp, the steps that we were taking to maintain the integrity of our office and assist the council office in maintaining its own administrative integrity, and also kind of inform everyone of the seriousness of this. So I thank you for giving me the additional time tonight to explain that. And I don't know if there's any questions about that or any of the pending litigation that we have.
Council, any questions of the law department? Councilwoman McDonald, go ahead.
What are you doing with the old stamp? Is it going to be destroyed? Like, sorry.
No, I'm going to put it out to pasture. It's going to be retired in one of my assistant's drawers, and it'll stay there. I don't know exactly how long. But, you know, at this point, since it's been used on some legislation, okay, I feel it's best to keep it.
Does it match? Does the new stamp and the old stamp match what the text say, or did you update the text on the new stamp?
I would say it's perhaps a little bigger, but virtually the same.
Okay.
And actually, after looking at the new stamp, you could see that it's darker ink. If Mr. Burns will kindly pass that back to you. There is a slight difference in size and maybe if we say font.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Chairman. She's done. Sorry.
Done?
Ms. McDonald, do you have any more questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Here, did you want to address her question? Or?
No, I just want to let the law director know that it has some historic significance. I believe that's probably the original stamp since we became a city. So we might want to keep that in the archives someplace. I'm sure that the finance director and his assistant will check and see the inventory and see what happened to it, but I think it's a significant historical stamp. We're going to try to research where it came from, so don't lose it.
I'll definitely make sure it will be safely held.
Jim and I are in 100. He might ask me what happened to that stamp.
What happened to that stamp?
I want to know.
Thank you.
Remember.
Any other questions to the law department? No other questions. Thank you. We'll move to the finance director, Mr. Single.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, happy birthday. Secondly, we are still waiting for the auditor of state to release the 2016 audit. Once they do so, we will send the CAFR out to print and also make it available online. That's all I have tonight, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, council, any questions to finance? Councilman Troyer.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Through the chair to the finance director, Mr. Single, concerning the senior concerts at the gazebo, you might not be able to answer this directly, but I'm sure you can find out for me. The city, through the recreation center, pays for that event, correct?
Through the chair to Councilman Troyer, the city does pay for
the entertainment and everything. So if somebody were to say, "Hey, I sponsored that," and try to get political points for that wouldn't be correct. The city through the recreation department does put those concerts on, correct?
Through the chair to Councilman Troyer, the city pays for the entertainer.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any other questions to finance? Mr. Single, I just have a few questions. As far as the audit, I know you've reported before. I mean, have you had any contact with the auditor as far as what the delay is? I think they've had it for a couple months now, haven't they?
Yeah, we've talked to the auditors numerous times, and the same response we receive every time is the auditor state's reviewing it and will release it. They did tell me it could be out to September. They're backlogged and they're performing their review, and once it's complete, they'll let us know.
Okay, thank you. Two or three more questions. A couple meetings ago, I think you talked about you and the mayor were going to be reviewing some capital improvement amendments, and you would be coming forth with some legislation. Can you update us as to any anticipation on that? And also with that, could you provide us an updated report on the capital improvements? I think the last time we got one was, the last one I have in my file is from April. So if maybe you can get us a report through July or something like that, what the status is. But do you have any idea as far as the legislation for the amendments to?
The mayor and I are still working on it, so once we finalize it, I'll give it to the mayor and he'll bring it forth to city council for review. And at that time, I'll bring an updated capital improvement detailed report.
Okay.
Chairman, if I may help
Go ahead,
clarify
Mayor.
that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and so what happened though is we had the Berea situation where the city of Berea says now they're going to fix it. So we thought we had it finalized. We had to adapt for that. There's a couple different sewer issues. Fayette is one of them. There's a couple of different ones out there that we have to provide for that. That was just we were made aware of. So you know we're close, but there's just a few things last minute we had to take care of.
Okay, thank you. And as far as you provided us with the July reports, a couple questions I have for you. One would deal with on our revenue. On page 4 of the 19, on revenue.
Okay.
On the city income tax fund, it shows that the year-to-date receipts are a little over $11.8 million. Shows it as the collected percent of being 62%. Does that, I mean, my interpretation of it, it means that the income tax is coming in a little higher than was anticipated at the beginning of the year. Is that accurate? And
Mr. Chairman, as I stated, I think at the last meeting or one of the meetings, they gave an update on income tax collections. Our projection was 19.1 million. Our analysis through say July is showing that we're on pace to collect 19.1, maybe a little bit above that, 19.2 possibly. So that's where we are. And again, as I've stated for many years, the second half of the year, income tax wise, somewhat slows down, especially the fourth quarter. Income tax collections do slow down. So I think we're on pace to collect 19.1, and with any luck, we'll be a little bit above that here at the end of the year.
okay. And then another question I have deals with on page 34 of that report on appropriations.
Okay.
It deals with the refunds for the income tax. As you know, we appropriated the 1.175 million. I see through July we've paid out 163,000, so that leaves a little over $1 million as an unencumbered balance. Can you give an estimate or some sort of advice as to how much of that $1 million you expect to spend in the next 5 months?
Mr. Chairman, we've talked about this at least a couple times. Like once again, there are economic development incentives that, if requested by the authorized companies, the majority of that money, if not all that money, would be funded back to them. So the outstanding liability still exists. It's up to the taxpayers to request reimbursement of their funds.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before we leave that.
Go ahead, Mayor.
It's payable on demand. So we should stop talking about it.
Well, I mean,
because
I've asked the question a couple of times of
right.
how we came up with the 1.175 million.
And he's answered that.
When we've never spent more than $300,000 or $400,000 on there, it just seems like it's a higher appropriation. And I've asked for a detailed analysis or a listing of what the liabilities will be, and that's never been provided to me. So I will continue to ask the questions until I get some sort of answer that settles my mind that that $1 million is sitting there and possibly will be spent. When I've looked over the last 10 years, like I said, we've never spent more than $300,000 or $400,000 in that area. I don't know where we come up with the 1.175, and that has never been explained.
Well, he's explained it to you in that these are the tax incentives. In the past, they were probably merely just regular refunds to taxpayers. These are payable on demand, and the issue is that we have an obligation to make these folks aware of it. or don't we? It's their money, it's not ours. So it'll continue to be there until they demand it, and Greg, even and I were looking, is there some statute of limitations? This is the taxpayers' money. It belongs, they're entitled to it upon demand. And that's why we keep funding it. To do so would be an unfunded liability. We appropriate it, use it for something else, and they come in next year and walk in the door and say, I want my money, we got a problem. So that's the simple way of explaining it. I don't believe it's available to us to expend other than, and Greg can correct me if I'm wrong, other than to have it there if they come in and say, this is our situation, we want our money refunded, or a credit in this amount to future taxes, whatever Greg can do according to the law.
And Mr. Chairman, I know you've asked for the analysis. The analysis cannot be provided to you because it is taxpayer-sensitive information. It's confidential. So this is an income. This is an income tax sharing, economic development incentive, based on our analysis of the records that were given to us by the companies. We project out what we believe to be the liability. Okay. In addition, there are annual refunds that are processed. Taxpayers make estimated tax payments. Their tax and liability is less than the estimated tax payments. They ask for a refund. We refund them the dollars. That averages anywhere between, say, $200,000 to $300,000 per year. The dollars on top of that are the economic development incentives, as the mayor said, are payable on demand.
Okay, thank you. One final question as far as with the general fund. Do you anticipate anytime soon making any type of changes to our general fund appropriations for any activities that may be coming up?
Yes, in the near future. The first one we'll probably do is going to be the capital improvement fund, and then we'll follow it up with the general fund changes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of the Finance Director? Seeing no other questions, that completes the items under letter I. We'll move to page 2 of the agenda, which is letter J, other communications and petitions and verbal approval and introduction of legislation. We'll go to verbal approval. Item number 1 is amendment to Council Rule number 21. Council, I'm going to ask you, the clerk has asked me if you want this read. It's been posted. You have that. I don't know if we need to read it.
Motion to accept the change to Rule 21.
Support.
There's a motion to accept the amendment to Council Rule number 21. It's been properly supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Salvatore?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Bergia?
Yes.
Troyer?
No.
Powers?
No.
McDonald?
Yes.
Mancini?
Yes.
5 to 2.
Okay, so Council Rule number 21 has been verbally approved to be amended by a 5 to 2 vote. We'll move to item number 2, which is the amendment to Council Rule number 28, dealing with website and email communications.
Motion to approve Council Rule 28 changes.
Second.
Support.
Okay, there's been a motion to amend the Council Rule 28 by deleting Council Rule number 28 in its entirety. It's been properly supported. Is there any discussion? Councilman Troyer?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. By deleting this, we're making council less independent and less informative to the residents. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing no other discussion, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Salvatore?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Mancini?
Yes.
Powers?
No.
Troyer?
No.
Bergia?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
5 to 2.
Okay, so Council Rule number 28 has been deleted in its entirety by a vote of 5 to 2. That completes the items that are under verbal approval. So we'll now go to the introduction of new legislation. We have an ordinance that's being introduced by Mayor Coyne, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for the sale of 3.3 acres of land on Brook Park Road. We'll place this in the Finance Committee. We have another ordinance introduced by Mayor Coyne. It's an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement with Akron Tractor and Equipment for the acquisition of an excavator. We will place this in the Service Committee.
I have one under section 408, or section 408, section 2 to be considered. That's what I underlined it for both of us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have an ordinance that's being introduced by Mayor Coyne under section 4.8 of the city charter. I'll read this. The section says, nothing in this section shall preclude any member of council, the president of council, or the mayor of the city from introducing emergency legislation on the floor of the council meeting. In addition, nothing shall preclude such an ordinance or resolution from being passed at said council meeting, provided, however, that it shall be fully and distinctly read once, and the rule of 3 readings shall be dispensed with a vote of 6 members of council eligible to vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so I will place this since it's going under that rule. Well, I'm going to place it on the agenda. We'll read it. I'm going to assign it to, what was the committee I was assigning it to?
Legislative.
It was being assigned to legislative, but it's going to appear on tonight's agenda because of the way it's been introduced. It'll appear under item M under first reading. At that point, the clerk will read the title and read the ordinance in its entirety.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Does any member of council have any legislation that they're going to introduce tonight? Okay, seeing none, that completes the items under letter J. We have nothing under letter K, so we will move to letter L on the agenda, which is remarks from the audience on ordinances and or resolutions that pertain to items on the agenda. This would be the time if anyone in the audience would like to speak to us on items that are on the agenda, that your time would be come up now and talk to us about that. It'd be difficult for you to talk about the one that was just introduced, but that one, it would be one. It will be read. And on second reading, we have an ordinance that authorizes the mayor to enter into a contract with Bob Gillingham Ford for the purchase of 4 SUVs for the police department. Those are the items that we have on the agenda for discussion. Go ahead, Mr. Dolan.
Good evening. Thank you. Mike Dolan, Commissioner of Economic Development. I'm going to address the ordinance that the mayor introduced on the floor pursuant to Charter Section 4.08. It's a very simple ordinance. The state has granted, upon application of the mayor, the city $99,940 up to that amount to remediate the property here at the corner of Holland and Engel, the northwest corner. I'd ask that the council suspend the rules and pass it so that the process can begin, the environmental analysis start immediately, and we can get it in on the good weather that we have left in the summer and the fall. It's a simple ordinance. It's a pass-through. We're not issuing any contracts. The state is taking care of all of that. We're simply paying the invoices as they're presented to us, which is required under the State of Ohio Department of Developmental Services program that was just created this year. We're one of the first cities to get the grant, so I'd like to get going on it and get it done. So thank you. I'd request that the rules be suspended and that it be passed first reading.
Okay, seeing no one else coming forward, we'll close out item L on the agenda and we'll move to letter M. We've already dispensed with item number 1, which is a resolution to honoring Dorothy Maku. So we'll move to item number 2 that was just introduced. I'll ask the clerk to read the title and the ordinance in its entirety.
Ordinance number 10,094-2017, introduced by Mayor Coyne, authorizing the mayor to accept up to $99,943.42 in environmental grant funds from the State of Ohio Department of Services Agency, Office of Community Development, and/or the State of Ohio Bureau of Underground Storage Tank Removal, parentheses, BUSTR, and the parentheses, to perform an environmental impact study and/or to facilitate and administer the environmental remediation of the property known as 6286 Engle Road, permanent parcel number 342-09-011, and to take all further necessary action to remediate the property and declaring an emergency. Whereas, pursuant to Resolution Number 7-2017, passed February 21, 2017, the mayor applied for grant funds from the state of Ohio to environmentally remediate 6286 Engle Road, permanent parcel number 342-09-011, parentheses, herein the property, and the parentheses. Whereas the city has been awarded up to $99,943.42 in grant funds from the state of Ohio to conduct an environmental impact study and to remediate environmental contamination on the property. Whereas in order to environmentally remediate the property, the state of Ohio requires the city to accept up to $99,943.42 and pay up to the same amount as necessary to the contractors engaged directly in the environmental remediation of the property and to facilitate the remediation of the property. Whereas the owner of the property, MNA Properties Incorporated, by and through the Mary N. Abdallah Revocable Trust, Mary N. Abdallah trustee, herein owner, has agreed to indemnify and hold the city harmless for all sums in excess of $99,943.42 that may be incurred or arise out of the environmental remediation of the property. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Brook Park, State of Ohio, that Section 1, that the mayor is authorized to accept funds from the State of Ohio up to $99,943.42 and expend said funds in furtherance of the performance of an environmental impact study and/or remediation of the property. Section 2, the mayor is authorized to enter into an indemnification and hold harmless agreement with the owners of the property to protect the city in the event the costs arising out of the said environmental impact study and/or remediation exceed $99,943.42. Section 3, no tax or revenue funds of the City of Brook Park shall be encumbered or expended to facilitate the payment of costs or expense arising out of the performance of the environmental impact study and/or remediation exceed of the property. Section 4, it is found and determined that all formal actions of this council concerning and relating to this ordinance were adopted in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and any of its committees that resulted in such formal actions were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 5, this ordinance is hereby declared to be an emergency measure immediately necessary for the preservation of the public peace, health, safety, and welfare of said city, and for the further reason that the City of Brook Park supports the environmental analysis and remediation of the property. Provided this ordinance receives the affirmative vote of at least 5 members elected to council, it shall take effect and be enforced immediately upon its passage and approval by the mayor, otherwise from and after the earliest period allowed by law. I read the ordinance number. Yeah, I did.
Okay, just for clarification, I was asking clerk, when we placed it on the agenda, she read it, but this ordinance is 10,094-2017. This council didn't catch that in the reading.
Mr. Troyer has a question.
All right, Councilman Troyer?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. If nobody minds, I move to suspend.
Support.
I have a question.
It's been a motion to suspend. It's been properly supported. Councilwoman Powers, on suspension?
No, I wanted,
Question has to be on suspension. That's the motion before us now. You heard the Mr. Dolan talk about.
and we, okay, on suspension, we're not told, yeah, we're given an address, but we were given this tonight after we sat down here. So an address doesn't tell me what's on the property now and why it needs this remediation.
I think Councilman Troyer can answer that question.
I mean, it's the corner of Ingle and Holland there. It used to be the hair cutting place.
The what?
The hair cutting place.
Cuts and such.
Oh.
Cuts and such, I think was the name of it at one time.
When you have you're removing some kind of a tank, was it
Used to be a gas station.
a gas station or something was there?
Many years ago, there was a gas station there, yes.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, for clarification for the councilwoman. Yes, and the people want to sell the property. There's an interest of a coffee shop and bakery going into that corner, and we'd like to avail of ourselves of the people want to sell it. They're up in years. I went and visited one of the prospective people who would fill it today. It's called Babes. It's in Independence, I guess it is, on Route 21. Their brownies are good. I didn't have any of their kuchens or anything, but they're good. And we'll fill a need there, and it's an eyesore on the corner, and I think it'll enhance the property. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Troyer?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I have to be careful here because talking on suspension, but off the mayor's comment, are they going to tear down the building?
I don't believe so, Tom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The reason I'm voting for suspension is because of what we've already discussed tonight, and this was something that that we passed legislation for in the past to get the money. So we're just following through with what we already decided to do. So this is a good example of when we should suspend the rules and get things moving. Thank you.
Councilman Mancini?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a win-win. This thing's in my ward. This was vacant for a long time. This was Cuts and Such, which did a good job over there. They moved out. It's vacant now. Yes, there was gas tanks there. I can remember being as a young kid. There was a gas station there. And, yeah, Jan, Mr. Dolan didn't stay up long enough for the questions, but I think this is a big one. This is a key part of our city right over there, and you know we got to get the businesses going here. So, and I think this is a first step on this project. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on suspension? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll on suspension.
Troyer?
Yes.
Mancini?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Salvatore?
Yes.
Perugio?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Suspension's been approved.
Motion to adopt.
Support.
And a motion to adopt, it's been properly supported. Is there any discussion on adoption? Seeing no discussion, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll on adoption.
Scott?
Yes.
Perugio?
Yes.
Salvatore?
Yes.
Troyer?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Mancini?
Yes.
Ordinance number 10,094-2017 has been adopted under suspension of the rules. That concludes the items under letter M. We'll move to letter N, which is second reading of ordinances and resolutions. Item number 1 is ordinance number 10,000.
Mr. President, I have to interrupt you here.
Councilman Troyer?
Yes, I have to explain something here that I was given by the law department a while back, and I got to lead up to it. A resident came to the microphone, to the podium, the lectern, I'm sorry, a few weeks back, and suggested that maybe I shouldn't be voting on any police issue because of the charges against me. And the reason being at that time was that I might be mad at the police department, to hold the police department, and that I would vote against things about giving them equipment and so on and so forth. And then, the law director was asked to make a ruling on that, and then it came back that, well, no, it's not that I might. It's a conflict because I may try to influence testimony from the police officers in my favor by buying them things for the police department. So at this point, and I've talked to the ethics people. I don't agree with this, but in talking to the ethics people, they said that as the Board of Elections does, the law director holds a lot of weight in these types of things. So until I can get a ruling from the Ethics Commission, but as a preliminary discussion without actually asking for a ruling, a gentleman told me that the problem is this state this state said that the charges were filed by the police department, which they were not. They were filed by a outside prosecutor. So, you know, I'm benefiting the whole police department, not the person or the persons that are going to testify against me. So, and the ethics person that basically agreed with me, and also in closing, it said that the memo from the law director said that I should not vote. It said nothing about that I should not, in the final synopsis, that I should not discuss it. And in talking to the ethics person, they said, well, if you can't vote, you shouldn't discuss it either. So at this point, there's other things in here that I don't agree with, but at this point, err on the side of caution. I'm going to recuse myself until we're done discussing this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll proceed to ordinance number 10,092-2017.
Motion to suspend.
Support.
You ready? Okay. Okay. There's a motion to suspend, properly supported. Any discussion on suspension? Seeing no discussion, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll on suspension.
Salvatore?
Yes.
Mancini?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Powers?
No.
Bergio?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
5 yes, 1 no.
Okay, so suspension only received 5 votes. It needs 6 votes to be suspended. So ordinance number 10,092-2017 has had its second reading. That concludes the items under letter N for second reading. We have no items under third reading, under letter O, so we will move to letter P on the agenda, which is remarks from the audience on any subject matter. This is a time where if anyone in the audience wants to address council, they come to the podium, give your name and address for the record. We refer you to Council Rule number 19, which deals with permission required to address council, where it says persons other than members of the council and city officers shall not be permitted to address council except upon introduction by the presiding officer. Each citizen must identify himself and his residential address for the purpose of public record. We would ask the speakers to address their comments to the chair and the elected officials referred to by their titles. We ask the speakers to please refrain from impugning the motives of the elected officials and to please confine their remarks to legislative matters and city business. We ask the speaker to refrain from personal attacks. Any rule not specifically covered by council's rules is also determined by referral to Robert's Rules of Orders, and it is not the intention of the chair to strictly enforce the rules upon speakers, but order and decorum needs to be followed. So if the chair asks the speaker to hold their remarks for a point of order or to give information, the speaker is asked to please stop speaking in order to listen to the chair. Thank you, and we'll proceed to audience participation.
Hello, my name is Joan Markusik. I live at 13911 Bellbrook Drive. Welcome back, Jimmy. It's nice to see you up there.
Thank you.
I just have a few little points I'd like to bring up because I've had 2 weeks to really think about all of you people up there in this city. First, following the rules is all of a sudden very important to quite a few people. In a couple of the past council meetings, that seems to be something that's brought up quite a bit. What I want to know is it because it's an election year and all of a sudden you're paying attention to them? Sniping at fellow council members while claiming to be working for the residents. I want to know exactly what residents approve of sniping fellow council to make this city move forward. Constantly criticizing instead of constructive fact-finding, sharing ideas, and to create a great city. It doesn't matter who the idea comes from. The whole purpose of you being there is to create progress within our city. Some council members seem to not know about issues at points in time during the meeting. Is there a lack of communication, or is it that you're not getting your information, reading it through, and able to comment on it, and you'd rather oppose it instead of listen to the conversation to get our city back on its feet. When requesting for information, what I want to know is, when you ask somebody for something and you haven't heard anything in 3 to 4 days, why aren't you calling or emailing to find out if the person's received your request and when you can expect any kind of response? That is a show of lack of your accountability for your job from your residents. Brook Park has enough problems, and the constant Facebook issue is a real big one with me, and everybody in the city that listens to this meeting, and all of you know it. What I want to know is, when did the council meeting move to Facebook? And why do I have to be a member of social media to find out exactly what people think and hear the degrading of people in this city that speak their mind, have ideas, or hear about how you hate, well, I shouldn't say hate, but disagree to the most intense ability you have about the people that you have to be working with to move this city forward. That is cowardness in its biggest form. Anybody can sit behind a keyboard and a screen. Get your rear end out there and say it to the people. And if you can't say it in person, you shouldn't be saying it at all. Our city deserves better. Recently, I was reminded of something at a memorial service. I knew a man who actually never said anything that he had to ever say he was sorry for. And I think that all of you really need to stop and think about that when you're on your little Facebook page or when you're talking to one another up there. Because I think that a lot of things that are said and a lot of things that I have heard have been written are absolutely appalling. I cannot believe that you think that that is some kind of a constructive, respectable way to treat one another. The bottom line is, you're all adults, and I think that you need to think about that before your words come out of your mouth. Thank you.
My name's Thomas Dufour. I live at 15300 Richard Drive. I'm talking to you guys today because I wrote a draft of a proposal, or a resolution rather, regarding the events that happened over the weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia. The proposal, or the resolution, as it stated, would condemn the hate groups that were marching there, and I would really hope that our city would lead in that regard. It goes without saying that the events which unfolded are not representative of the best of us as a nation. And this isn't an issue about politics. It's not an issue about party, political correctness. It's about human decency. And what we saw on display this weekend were elements of a larger group, which call themselves the alt-right. And they constitute a collection of groups aiming to resurrect the ideological elements of Nazi Germany and the American Confederacy, which are two ideologies that were responsible for the two bloodiest wars in our country's history. These people were marching through streets carrying torches. They were marching through streets using Nazi slogans like blood and soil. And they have publicly decreed that their agenda is to deport all African Americans, the destruction of the Jewish race, to institute a 50-year ban on immigration, a tolerant society, a tolerant city. A tolerant country will not stand for this. In the preamble of our city charter, we declare that we are grateful for our freedom and acknowledge our rights and responsibilities as citizens. And in the preamble of Ohio's Constitution, we thank Almighty God for our freedom and pledge to promote our common welfare. And to declare that we are not, to publicly declare that we are not what these groups want us to become, in my estimation, is one of the most patriotic things we can do right now in the face of current events. And to stand with cities like Charlottesville, to stand with cities like Whitefish, Montana, where one of these guys lives, that had a similar proclamation, as far as I'm concerned, that's one of the most American things that we can do right now in the light of what's happened. So the resolution that I've drafted actually has elements of Whitefish's proclamation, but I've also consulted with some of my friends that live in many states across this country. So it's not just me writing this. It's truly a group effort. So I would like to submit the draft to any members of the council that would be willing to work on this to get it passed to make our city to confirm that our city is a diverse and a tolerant place to live. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Through the chair to Jimmy Mancini, I saw you a couple weeks ago. You looked great then, and you're still using your cane. You're looking great.
Thank you, Susan.
Okay, thanks. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Through the chair to Mr. Salvatore.
Name and address, please.
I'm sorry, Susan Anderson, 5700 Grayland Drive, Brook Park. Mr. Salvatore, next time you're at the Southwest meeting, if you could ask them a question and maybe get back to me, no rush. A couple of years ago, I had to go in through emergency and was admitted, and I was in the new tower and in a private room. And because I'm on Medicare, Medicare did not cover the cost of the private room as opposed to being in a double. So I had to pick up the difference. And I'm just wondering if there's something that could be done by the hospital for seniors like us who are on Medicare. Because of that difference, it ends up being quite a bit of money. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, that's fine. Take your time, no rush. I'm not planning any more trips in the near future. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Also through the chair to our law director, thank you. Just thank you, Madam Law Director, thank you. First of all, I'd like to give a hello to my little friend who is at home, little dog, who couldn't make it tonight. Okay, at the council meeting of January 17th this year, Mr. Vecchio asked Council President Astorino who the webmaster is for the BrookParkCityCouncil.com website, who the administrator is, the cost breakdown, along with who the taxpayers of Brook Park are paying for this website. And on January 17th, Council President Astorino responded to Mr. Vecchio that the website is provided through Geek Storage. The cost for 2017 is $93.53, and that Council President Astorino works with the council clerk on the content of the page. At the July 25th, 2017 caucus meeting, Councilwoman Rachel McDonald asked Council President Astorino, not once but twice, who is the owner of the BrookParkCityCouncil.com website. Council President Astorino eventually stated he is the website administrator, but that he did not know who owns the website and that he would get back to her with the answer. Since the residents of Brook Park seem unable to get a straight answer about this, I've taken it upon myself to do some research about the BrookParkCityCouncil.com website and discovered the following. 1, according to ICANN, which is all in caps, the website registration is marked as private. In other words, the public can't see who owns the website. We don't know if it's Mr. Astorino or someone else. Number 2, the website registrant contact, admin contact, and tech contact is Domains by Proxy LLC, located in Scottsdale, Arizona. 3, the registrar is GoDaddy.com LLC at the same address as Domains by Proxy LLC. Number 4, the website server is geekstorage.com. In addition to the above, ICANN lists the important dates as follows. Number 1, the website was created on Monday, November 9th, 2015, 6 days after the Tuesday, November 3rd, 2015 general election. Number 2, the website was updated on Tuesday, November 15th, 2016, 1 day after Julie McCormick was arrested at the Target store in North Olmsted on Monday, November 14th, 2016. Number 3, the website registration expiration date is November 9th of this year. Because former Councilwoman McCormick and Council President Astorino were both separately reimbursed for their website expenses by the city technically owns the website. And what the city owns is subject to public records requests, subject to the Ohio Sunshine Law's exceptions. Given the above information, I am formally and publicly requesting that Law Director Carol Horvath immediately issue a civil subpoena to Domains by Proxy LLC requesting the following information. Number 1, the name and address of the individual who created the BrookParkCityCouncil.com website on November 9th, 2015. Number 2, the name and address of the individual who updated the BrookParkCityCouncil.com website on November 15th, 2016. Number 3, the name and address of the current owner or owners of the BrookParkCityCouncil.com website. Number 4, the names and addresses of any and all administrators assigned to the BrookParkCityCouncil.com website. Number 5, any and all payments for the website and the names and addresses of any and all individuals responsible for these payments. Number 6, any and all information deemed appropriate by Law Director Horvath. And to assist the Law Director with these inquiries, I have a copy of the I Can Who Is information, which I will provide to Law Director Horvath after the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, I got my paper this time. Liz Sayers, 2306 5 Cedar Point Road, Brook Park. Oh, by the way, this is from the police department too. The paper I have. I just came up here to thank the mayor and city for this summer and letting me do the flowers around the gazebo, and people asking me to do the Kennedy Park and the rec center, cleaning that up also. And I just want to thank you for, you know, just letting me do it without any confrontations or any problems with anybody. But I came up here tonight because I just wanted to tell everybody, since nobody can tell the right stories and nobody can say anything nice about anybody, everybody has to be bullied, being controlled, or try to be above everybody. Okay? Now, a lot of people are mad at me. A lot of people have said all kinds of things to me, accused me of things. And you know, it'd be nice if you just said it to my face. One person said it to my face. I was very offended by someone telling me that I told them that they're not allowed on city property. Whoa. That was pretty deep on me, but I kept my cool, people. Told her that was between you and the mayor, not me. But there was a lot of other things that happened and everything. And I just want to let everybody know, from all the bullying, all the criticism, and the threats that I have received, and all I am is just a little short, fat little white woman named Liz Sayers from the west side of Brook Park. Okay? There's nothing special about me. I'm a signing notary. I've been in the medical field. I've been in retail. You name it. I've done a lot. But to attack me is pretty sad in this city. I was told that, you know, you have to pick sides. I thought we were all adults here. I didn't know we were in elementary school, where we got to choose and pick who we're friends with, who we talk to, who we vote for. I'll vote for anybody I damn well want, and I'll associate with anybody I want. I just don't understand the residents of this city. I really don't. Okay? Now, as far as this gazebo thing, okay, the mayor and I agreed on that.
he said, go to the beautification so you can have help with it. Well, we all know what I did all summer, and I had a few people come to the gazebo, and I felt like Lucy from Peanuts, you know, the little shrink for 5 cents, you know, and sit there and talk with people and have a cup of coffee with. Now, I tried with the gazebo and the rec center and Kennedy to make it look nice. The gazebo turned out beautiful because I was there every day, even if it was only 15, 20 minutes or an hour. Now I want everybody to understand this. I went there and pulled out the flowers. Those were annuals. You know, annuals don't last long, especially when they are not watered. Okay? Now I pulled those out. Okay? The rest of the plants that are there grow all year. I cannot tell the deer to stop eating it. It's not my problem that they like hostas and all that. We try to explain to the other people that those are plants that the deer eat. Now, those were annuals. They were falling apart, they were dying. I was trying to keep them looking nice in the whole 10 yards. But to attack me over it, and at a beautification meeting, attack me, and then attack me after I left the meeting because I'm no longer with the beautification because I was told that I resigned from there and everything and that I didn't want to have emails and all this other stuff. Okay? But yet I was allowed to come there for the last 3 or 4 months. But as soon as something was wrong, I'm told to leave the meeting. And told a few other things as I'm leaving. And then after I was gone, what was said about me and what was done to me, and gee, Brook Park Police Department, I thought was pretty damn rude and pretty nasty. The go put out that I did I have criminal charges. I was threatened criminal charges for pulling out flowers. Give me a break, okay? The reason why I'm up here saying this, because I want everybody to know the truth, okay? I did not lie about taking those flowers out. I did not lie why I'm upset, okay? I am tired of all the little talks and all the little backstabbing and the threats, okay? Now, I didn't see anybody all summer long next to me doing flowers, weeding, picking up garbage. All I saw was city workers, which they were pretty cool. I liked them. And I had fun with them. And even a city worker brought me a Pepsi. I spent 4 hours cleaning in front of the wreck. I just want everybody to know the story. I wanted to tell it to your face, because I'm not going to say it behind your back. I'm not going to go over here and run over here and say all this garbage about you to another person. Okay? That's why I came up to this podium tonight. And I also did not appreciate that somebody's afraid of me. Afraid of Liz? Oh my God. They brought up that I have a CCW license, and they were afraid that I had a gun. Whoa.
Ms. Sayers.
No, listen to me. I'm done. I'm done.
1 second. Just confine your remarks about city business and the people up here.
It is city business because the city attacked me.
We do not come to the podium to talk about other private residents. You talk about the elected officials, the city officials.
I am. These were elected officials, and there was 3 of them at the meeting, plus your wife. Again, I have a right to say this because the beautification is
you don't have a right. You don't have a right at the podium to talk about a private resident.
Well, you don't have a right to talk about me either. So you know what? You have a nice day.
And legislative matters.
Hey.
So please confine your remarks.
Mr. Astorino, you're #1 about stabbing people in the back, and so is your wife. So you have a nice evening, and I'm done. And you know what? At least I have the gall to stand here and say it to your face instead of behind my back.
This is my first
Name and address, please.
class. My name is Terry Ott, 15736 Pike Boulevard. I can't believe this. I wanted to come and start learning all of this. And I want to know who I can talk to teach me this. Like, I want to know what you guys do. I want to know what we do. When we have problems, who do we go to? Who do we talk to? You guys are listening to all these talks, and I don't understand, when are they going to get the answers? And who's going to answer my questions? When am I going to get the answers? Now, later? Who's going to tell me all of this? And I can't really read, so I can't just read books and learn all of this. I want somebody to teach me all of this so I can understand why this lady came up and gave her all the problems. She's helping your company or your service, your city, and things happen I don't understand. And I need somebody to talk to me about this. You guys are, well, I'm learning that no answers are going to come back. So maybe somebody should call me, talk to me, write me a letter or something so I can get in contact of learning all of this. How does this all go? Gabish?
We have to wait.
Yeah.
You have to wait.
Council President will explain it to you.
Yeah, the way this works, Ms. Ott, is the audience makes their comments. We don't get involved in a debate back and forth.
That's awesome.
You're making you've asked your questions. After all the audience is done, if council wants to address that, they make a motion to address the comments from the audience, and they would provide your answers. I would suggest to you that you provide your name and phone number and address, again, to the council clerk, so that if any of the council people want to get in touch with you, they can contact.
Well, what's a council?
She's the council clerk. Okay. After the meeting, you can provide her. Her name's Michelle Blazak. You can provide her with your contact information. Therefore, if any of these council people want to talk with you, they will call you up then.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Louis Modick. I live at 14399 Fayette, homeowner. We actually started looking at a house a couple years ago, settled on Brook Park, knew a lot of people in Brook Park, love Brook Park, love our neighborhood. We had a problem on our street, just with a street sign. I went on some website, got my council person's name, sent her an email. I got a letter in the mail. She forwarded it to the mayor's office. And I'd like to thank the mayor's office for the new sign was up within 2 days. I thought I did everything great. Contacted the council person, sent a letter. I had a great experience. Here I found out the council, I don't even live in that ward as I was told. I actually live in Ward 4. But I want to thank that council person, Jan, for helping me out anyhow. I want to thank the mayor's office for responding and getting that new dilapidated sign replaced. And the only other thing I got to say is I'm all in favor of the dog park. I think it's a great thing for Brook Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience want to come to the podium at this time? Seeing no one else coming forward, we'll conclude.
Motion to address the audience.
Letter P. We have a motion by Councilman Mancini to address the audience.
Support.
It's been properly supported. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Mancini,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Bergia,
Yes.
Salvatore,
Yes.
Troyer,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Motion is approved, so council, you can address the audience. Comments? Councilman Mancini?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I've done a lot of talking today, so I'll be pretty brief here. I appreciate everybody coming up, and I appreciate everybody waiting patiently to come up to the mic. It was a little longer meeting. We didn't really have a really lot on the plate, but we do appreciate you guys coming up and speaking how you feel. Joe and Susan, thanks for the lovely compliments. Thank you so much. You guys always been there for me, and I appreciate it. It was hard work, but you know, hearing people the nice things I got when I was in before and after surgery, it means the world. Makes you very motivated, and I just hope I could always do that for others, seniors, the kids, you guys. So I appreciate that. And Joan, I definitely, with the Facebook, you've heard me up here many a time. Why I'm not on there, but I do hear a lot of good things. I'm not going to get heavy into what I had heard yesterday, but there's a lot of good things on there. But you're absolutely right. Some of the names I didn't even know. And again, I'm everywhere, and I mean, they were saying yesterday what was said about something that happened over the weekend, and I'm like, well, who's that? And then I found out there's a lady from Middleburg Heights making comments about Brook Park that lives in Middleburg Heights and don't even vote, you know, and them are the kind of things that really upset me. Or I say, well, you know, I'm at a lot of stuff, obviously. Well, who is that that's making them kind of derogatory comments? And it does the city no good. It does none of us no good. It doesn't move us forward. As a matter of fact, it probably puts a little not so much sunshine on our little city. And you know, Tom, I want to tell you, you from last night to today, you know, you did very well on that. Well, again, I'm going to leave that up as a committee as a whole and the administration on how to deal with that. You know, today I sent you back. You sent me a beautiful piece, but then I asked a little long, could you condense that? And you did a super job. And you have it there. So for the council members, yeah, we're going to have to all get copies on that. You know, I got to be honest with you, Liz. Where's she at, Liz? I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. You know, you do a super job on it. I've seen you when I drive by in the summer, and you're out there by yourself, and sometimes you do have help. You do a great job. I told you I think it was Thursday or Friday morning, how I felt about that situation. Now, that has nothing to do with me. I told you how I felt on that, and you were kind enough to reflect your voice off the wall to tell me how you felt. So, Liz, you do a good job with that stuff. You really do. And, you know, well, it's unfortunate because there's people like to get involved as you guys come to the phone, as her doing the flowers, as, you know, we need that. What people do, things like that, to come with resolutions, ordinances, to do work in our community. It can't always be us. I say it can't always be the mayor. Get council person. You got a lot of these cities, it's community involvement. That's what makes a city strong. It's just a regular person. You get all these people, oh, I'm going to help coach, or I'm going to do this, and right away we got the same ones. So, yeah, very important that people get involved. And, you know, again, I appreciate you guys coming to the mic.
Ms. Sayers, please. Ms. Sayers, please.
We let you talk. So I'm going to finish up. I'm going to let my other colleagues go. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Destroy everybody.
Sayers, please. Councilman McDonald.
I have my contact information if you and I want to chat about all this stuff.
Who are you talking to?
Mrs. Ott, she's talking to you.
To you, Mrs. Ott. So, okay.
That's because I didn't have my
She's saying she's got her business card.
I have my card for you. It has my phone number and my email address if you would be interested in chatting. And I can hopefully explain some of those.
Now I'm confused because she told me to talk to her. Now
You can talk to both of us.
when?
Whenever you would like to.
Well, I just need how to talk to you.
Well, that's why I'm saying I have my business card for you that has my information for you. No, I completely agree. It is a very, very overwhelming experience when you first start.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys do. Who are you guys? I don't know
Mrs. Ott.
This is how it works.
Yeah, we're going back and forth.
This couldn't do it.
Councilman Troyer.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just want to touch on a few things. Let me go in reverse order. Louis, I didn't catch your last name. What was it? Voted. Okay. It's great that worked out for you, but I just want to comment on it. People don't realize that what the duties and what the authority that a council person has. All we can do, especially on something like a sign or like anything on city property, we all have, there's employees and a process and people that they're supposed to do that, they have those jobs. So a lot of residents are sometimes under the impression that they can call your council person and it just gets done automatically. What happens is, and what's forced to happen here is, we have to send a memo to the mayor to get the administration to do it, because it's just in administration through the department heads and the workers that get these things done. So what we're doing is we're saying, okay, and what I do is I like to go out and confirm that it's an issue, because sometimes you get complaints of conditions of houses and it's a kind of a feud. So I confirm the issue and then I put the memo into the mayor, and then it's up to the mayor to send it to the correct department head and have somebody get it done. In fact, we're not supposed to talk to the department heads. I mean, everything has to go, any information we request, anything the mayor's required, that it goes through a memo through the mayor's office. And I think that's kind of can create a logjam sometime, but I guess in the sense that it lets the mayor know what's going on. But you know, I can turn in a memo for an issue all I want. It doesn't mean it's going to get done. You know, and I have no authority to tell anybody to do it. So in your case, it worked out great. But I just want the residents to understand that. And then going backwards, Mr. DeFore, I'm interested in that, and so get it to us. And I know you talked to Jimmy already, and eventually it has to go through our law department, so that's going to be the final. But I think maybe council, we should have a discussion at a caucus on that with just a basic discussion. And then Joan, talking about following the rules. I mean, it's been my three and a half plus years is what I've been trying to do. Get everybody to follow the rules, follow the charter, follow the rules of council. Of course, we changed some today, but that's what I've been all about, trying to do that, trying to show, you know, not mislead people and show what's really going on. So, and a lot of that is following the rules. We have rules and we should follow them. If we're not going to follow some of our council rules, we should change them. So that completes that, and see, I think that's it. Nothing else required any feedback. All right, thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Councilman Bergio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'm going to take a little different slant. Just generally, I just want to mention that I think we have so many good things happening in our city, and I'm just going to recap a little bit what the mayor said earlier, and I'm going to embarrass Rick Salvatore. I used to coach with Rick, I think back in 1989, 90, and through there. He's been coaching a lot of years. I sponsor baseball teams, he does too, but he also coaches. I attend almost every game that my kids are playing in, and next year Burgess are going to beat Salvatore, but that's beside the point. But anyway, Rick has a good heart for kids, and I've seen what the mayor talked about, and you know, that's what we're about. That's what Brook Park is about. Helping kids. I have a grandson who's autistic, and when I was on the school board, I used to sit in on classes on kids that had physical problems as well. And these kids are special. And things like that, having a kid play on a team, and that's really what I'd like. I really like seeing that stuff. And I think that we need to accentuate the positive, and I think that's a good thing. And that's the way I'm looking at things. I'm looking at the glass as half full. Yes, we have issues, and we have things that, like every other city has, but we have a lot of good people here. And Lou, you're a man after my own heart. The dog park thing is something I wanted to do for about 10 years now, and the mayor's been looking into it. He's learned a lot about dog parks, and in the mayor's own words, it's going to be the best dog park in the country. So I'm looking forward to that too. So thanks for your comments. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Scott?
Yeah, thank you. Joni, welcome back. Okay, we've been talking on and off. You know, as you know, my stand on the Facebook. Yes, I do monitor them. I believe my wife probably monitors them more than me and gives me all the updates. Louis, I respond to you. I will not respond to you on a social media. I will respond to you the way I did. Okay, you got questions, you got any issues, call me. I got your card, you got my mail. Okay, I hope I responded to your answer, your question, and I hope I gave you what you needed. Susan, thank you, hon. Okay, you are just a wealth of information back there, I'm telling you. Liz, you and I, we talk. You know, you cannot give up on the city. Okay, listen to me. Okay, listen to me. You got to have a positive attitude. Everybody, I can't say how many people we do care. Okay, I care immensely about the city. I know you care immensely about the city. I know you got a couple slaps on the old tush on there. You don't like it, but keep going forward. Okay, keep giving. Okay, people do appreciate what you do. They really do. Tom, we will look at that bad boy. Okay, that what you have there is something that is very, very important. Okay. Was your name Odd? Was it Odd again? Is that your name? Okay.
Very odd.
Okay. You talk to Rachel. Rachel give you my ad. We'll talk. Okay. You got any questions? See this guy here? See this guy here on the end? 20-some years of council experience. This guy, Mr. Salvador here.
Don't listen to him. I'm still learning.
But we're here to help. You got questions? The council clerk will give you phone numbers, and we will respond. We will get back to you.
We'll get to it, Miss. We'll get to it, Mrs. Ott. You'll get all your information. You'll talk. They'll all talk to you. You'll after tonight. I don't know. Let me see. Hey, council, any more comments?
Checking to see if anybody has anything to say. I can answer your question for you.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor. Okay,
the magic number. Terry, can you hear me? Yeah. I'm Mayor Coyne. The magic number, 216-433-13. It's a number at City Hall. You call that number, okay, and you can ask if you have a question about council. You can call that number and ask for the council office. Joanne will write it down for you. You call that number, talk to the switchboard operator. She'll get you any place you have to go, and I'm sure individual members of council will sit with you if you have any questions. Thank you for coming up and being concerned. You're confused. The truth, most of the people sitting up here on Tuesday night at any given time are confused themselves about a lot of things. You can't ask us now, okay? Right. And let me just say this about Liz and Ralph Lone and the Beautification Committee. This is an amazing city, Tom. You point out about people's rights. In Brook Park, we fight over volunteering and taking care of our town. What a wonderful place. No one should ever invade us, ever. Okay? And Tom DeFore, I appreciate your great oratory. You're a fine young man. And as we talked, I would prefer a resolution that unifies the country, because there's more than fault with one particular group or one hate group. And I think you realize when you cite the Constitution of the United States, what's always said is that I despise the person that burns the flag of the United States of America. However, we have to defend their right to do so. So discourse and discussion is healthy in America. We're in a turmoil time at this point in time. But as the president said, we've been there for a while. And I have a problem with folks trying to blame him for something that is a product of our society that has to be eradicated. And I think if both sides, all sides of any issue on any given day could become violent, we have to deal with the issues of opportunity in this country, because I think that really sows the seeds of our problems. So if you have a resolution that talks about our intolerance of hate and bigotry, I'm all for that. If you want to blame a particular side for the totality of the problem, I won't participate in that. And I think that's what the president was trying to say his first day. As you can see, his second day, when he got more information, he laid blame where really the outrageous behavior was. Okay, in this city, clearly our whole being is about people who felt and sacrificed themselves to fight for all of our rights, the ones that we like and the ones that we disagree with. But I appreciate your work, and I was very proud of you getting up there speaking in the manner you're a very well-spoken and well-intentioned young man. Thanks for coming.
Okay, that concludes the remarks from council. Council, at this time, I would take a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of purchase and/or sale of property.
Motion so made.
Support.
Okay, the motion is to go into executive session for the purpose of purchase and/or sale of property. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mancini? Yes. Perugio?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Salvatore?
Yes.
Troyer?
Yes.
Powers? Yes. McDonald?
Yes.
Okay, we will adjourn into executive session at 10:02.
Not a cancel. Remind council, we're still in session. I'd like to remind council, we're still in session.